Welcome everybody to episode 95 of the ADV podcast. It is a jam-packed one. We've got a lot to talk about as far as the Olympics are concerned.
Yeah.
A lot of drama going on there. We've got other things to talk about too, though, so don't worry. It's not only about the Olympics. It's the usual kind of show.
It's not like an Olympics super mega episode.
Yeah. Are we going to just...
it feels like we're falling.
You think we're falling?
Look at the camera.
Oh, the camera's a little bit off, isn't it? Anyway, it's at a Dutch tilt.
It's at a Dutch
because
tilt.
I'm actually
We're literally falling.
I'm actually not taller than Sea Milk. We're actually the same level on our chairs here.
I don't care about that. It just literally looks like we're falling off the screen.
Yeah. Oh well, that's life.
The Dutch tilt.
Anyway, guys, let's get started with what's new. Where we talk about what's new in China, and we promised you guys a new rap from Cardi C.
I need to scooch in because
I'll scooch in a little. Okay. I promised you guys, we promised you a new rap. So we're going to play a new rap for you. And then we're going to tell you what it's all about. So we're just going to jump straight into it and show you this rap, shall we? All right. This time, should we just let them hear the whole thing? Or
30 seconds. So yeah, sure.
Okay.
And then we'll explain it.
We will. Okay. We're going to get ourselves out of here. Enjoy.
I have the courage of the tiger, the strength of the tiger, the passion of the tiger. I'm a who. Determination of the tiger, the confidence of the tiger, the frankness of the tiger. I'm a who. Don't underestimate, though I look like cat species. Keep following my lead. I'm the biggest kitty you see. Apex predator troubles my prey. I swallow hardship, I do what I say. Trustworthy tigers, no need to hurry. Come along, join with who? Wish it 2022. Be courageous, determined to. Be real, be calm, be cool. We are the confident, passionate who.
Right. Okay. Now, it's cringe.
Somebody said I'm ready for this tofu drag podcast.
Excellent. One thing that we tried to explain last time, for those of you who don't know, this particular person here works for the Chinese government and is very well connected. Although...
Cardi C.
Yeah, Cardi C. Outward appearances, you would think that she's just a content creator, a vlogger, someone who makes videos where she just sings music. This atrocious attempt at a song that you saw here was broadcast during the New Year's Gala. Can you explain how important that is?
The New Year's Gala is like, imagine you're gathered around with your family and you're like around Christmas time and it's like you watch The Grinch or something, right? You have your traditions. Now imagine that importance times 100. Because at Chinese New Year, the family gathers around and watches this thing called the Chinese New Year Gala, put on by the Chinese government on CCTV. And it's like hours and hours of the most influential people.
Yes.
You're going to see the leaders. You're going to see the biggest top business owners, mostly party affiliated people. The kind of hand-selected performers like you would see in performing in Manhattan. Right.
Yeah.
Somebody like a Beijing opera singer that you might see like hand selected by the government to go represent China.
Yeah.
That was played here.
Yes.
During that. That's how important this is. Yeah. Right.
We cannot reiterate just how important the New Year's Gala is. There's nothing quite like it anywhere else in the world. You know, sure, you'll have everybody watches like Home Alone or something during Christmas time or something, but it's not even anything like that.
Times 100.
It's kind of like a almost mandatory thing that everybody watches. Yeah. And because families are all together in one place, even if some of the younger people don't want to watch it, the grandparents are going to have it on.
It'll be on.
You know, or the parents.
Like
the parents will be having it on.
Sure.
And of course, there are some very special announcements from the government during that time, wishing everyone a happy new year. And it's like a big variety show. Yeah. It's mainly just a bunch of propaganda.
Sure. Nowadays.
Yeah, these days. And then, of course, she appeared in there. So if anyone had any doubts as to, you know, how high up she is when it comes to the Chinese government and propaganda for the Chinese government.
I mean, this is huge.
Yeah.
So think about this. Someone in the propaganda department planned out the gala, right?
Yes.
And they said, we need to have, like, all these kids like rap now. We need to get a rapper. So they checked the party roster. Who do we got for a rapper? They literally have thousands of personally know talented rappers in China.
Of course.
Very talented people, more talented than people I met here in America.
Yeah, Honor of the Ghetto, I met those guys.
Yeah, there's very talented people.
Yeah.
People that play their own instruments, people that have very good flow and write their own lyrics.
Yeah.
And they chose Cardi C.
They chose her.
I think, is going to be my new go-to. I used to tell the story about nepotism, about when you go to get something translated in China, it's always somebody that selected through nepotism that doesn't even speak English.
Correct.
Meanwhile, there's literally millions of people in China that can speak better English that would die for that job that don't get it because their uncle's not a party member.
Correct.
This is my new example for nepotism.
This is absolutely nepotism. That's the only reason she would have been chosen. Anyway,
let's listen to it one more time.
We
so
will,
30 seconds.
so everyone else can.
If you're just tuning in,
cringe. But you know the thing is, one thing you need to know, by the way, in case you're a little bit confused, Hu. She keeps saying Hu, Hu. That means tiger.
Yes.
Okay, so in Chinese, Hu means tiger. All right, so let's take a look.
Sure, it doesn't mean Botox.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Nice.
I have the courage of the tiger, the strength of the tiger, the passion of the tiger. I'm a who. Determination of the tiger, the confidence of the tiger, the frankness of the tiger. I'm a who. Don't underestimate me, though I look like cat species. Keep following my lead. I'm at the biggest kitty you see. Apex predator troubles my prey. I swallow hardship, I do what I say. Trustworthy tigers, no need to hurry. Come along, join with who? Wish it 2022. Be courageous, determined to be real, be calm, be cool. We are the confident, passionate who.
Yeah, you know.
I feel like the audio quality is worse than like a B movie.
Yeah, I want to know what I may look like cat species.
That is such a Chinglish thing.
Yeah.
Because like I'm trying to think about this logically to explain to people that don't speak Chinese. But like imagine if you took a lyric in a different language and you just completely translated it. It makes no sense in English.
Yeah, like the larch Popeye or whatever that one.
Like
that's still my favorite. Yeah,
you're going for big words here. You do a direct translation with Baidu Translate, which is way worse than Google. They should be just using Google at this point. What's all with this? What is this? What is all this like?
That's what rappers do, man.
Is it? Yeah, I forgot. Cardi C.
Yeah.
So Cardi C, congratulations on the nepotism. Starting to worry about how connected she actually is. We better lay off.
If she's in the gala.
Yeah.
Anyway,
that's a big deal.
So there's your cringe rap for this week.
Yep.
Let's.
They keep feeding it to us.
Yeah, they keep going and going and going. It's kind of ridiculous. I kind of like last week's one more. Yeah. Anyway, now we have to talk about this mascot. You may have seen this. This is the mascot for the Beijing 2022 Genocide Olympics.
You're really cut off, dude.
Why am I so cut off here?
I don't know. Here, yeah. I'll move down. Let me move down.
Okay. All right. Sorry, we're always having the technical issues.
Because we're falling.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, this is the mascot, and its name is, what's it? Duin Duin?
Bing Duin Duin.
Bing Duin Duin.
So I'll explain the name. So this is a panda, obviously. Panda is China's national animal. They tend to take them back, by the way. I like to explain panda diplomacy for a second. Sure. Panda diplomacy is something that the CCP created, and if you're in good favor with the Chinese government, they'll give you a panda, right? You put it in your zoo, in your country. So they started to realize that, hey, we're going to be enemies with America now. So they took back the pandas.
Yeah, I remember when that happened, when we were still down in LA. They took it out of the San Diego zoo.
Oh, that was when we were there.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought it was a while ago.
Yeah.
Oh, so that's a Xi Jinping effort.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow. So they take back the pandas. But anyway, panda, national animal of China, says Bing Dun Dun. Now, Dun is like Tang Dun, which is in Tianjin. They have Tang Hulu, which actually I have a picture. Can you pull it up?
Oh, we have a picture?
It's after all of this crap.
Oh, so I'm going to just have to fast
just a little
forward
bit. I just want to show people.
Okay. Let's get through this. We'll talk about this in a second.
That's some great stuff. There you go.
Tang Hulu.
It's
crab apples, basically.
Yeah, it's crab
candied
apples.
Crab apples.
Yeah, dipped in sugar, and they candy them. And Tang Dun in Tianjin, this area of China, kind of near Beijing, they call it that. So the original prototype for, can you put it back on him?
Oh yeah, I'll get back to it.
The original prototype for this, I mean, to be fair, this dumbass looking bear mascot, which looks like shit to me.
It doesn't look good.
And no offense to pandas or anything, but it literally looks awful. It looks like a knockoff, and it's not even a knockoff.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's the prototype is based on the roundness of the dessert, right? That Tang Hulu, that treat. And Dun could also kind of very archaically translate as like stocky, because he's kind of stocky and chubby.
That's right. That's right.
There's also this other one. There's this lantern. It's Xue Hong Hong, I think is his name. Rong Rong is Xue Rong Rong.
Oh yeah, there's a lantern mascot, but that's not who we're talking about here.
No, we're talking about Bing Dun Dun. So anyway, go back to Beijing 2008. They had these shitty looking mascots that they loved in China. I always thought they looked pretty bad.
I don't know, like I had a lot of people tell me they were bad omens. Because remember in 2008 there was a Sichuan earthquake, and there was a couple of other like scandals and things that happened. It wasn't the Bo Xilai thing. Yeah. There's a lot of things that happened in 2008, so people started to call the mascots bad omens.
Sure, but they are still pervasive all over
Yeah, you
China.
still see them.
I mean, you'll still get gifts from Chinese people, especially older people that are really proud of that.
Yeah.
It'll be like a teacup with a Beijing 2008 Olympics on it.
Olympics
Now it's this stuff. Anyway, Bing Dun Dun, hilariously, became wildly popular because this time, unlike the first kind of push
Yeah.
for products, they made them limited run.
Right.
So this originally, you can play this out a little bit.
Yeah.
It comes in this like plastic shell, and everyone's clamoring to buy these things. It comes in like this, right?
Yeah.
So the problem is that they had
Oh, yes.
they had
yeah.
a live. You can explain it if you want.
Okay, yeah, well, I just got to, because it's so ridiculous. So you got this Bing Duan Duan thing, okay? It's
Selling out.
It's wildly popular. Even, I think it was a Japanese news reporter or something, or reporter on the events, fell in love with it, and he was so happy to be able to get one and stuff. So there's been this madness around this mascot. And then they decided that they'd have like a thing where the mascot answers questions,
Yes.
okay?
That's right.
Now, in your mind, imagine what you think this cute little panda's voice is going to sound like.
Well, I can give you a little hint because the original 2008 Olympic mascots, they also gave them voices, and they're like, "Ni hao."
Yeah, it's like little
like,
kids, like a cute,
Yes.
cute little kind of feminine, or little. You know what I mean? You expect it to be like a kid's
Squeaky.
toy. It's like, "Hi, I'm
Yeah,
here to be."
it's very squeaky.
Okay, listen to what the voice sounds like. Okay, listen closely.
好呀，
你好。
Okay, before
yeah.
she says "Anihao," so now it's her turn to talk to the guy, to the mascot. So she's like, "Hi." She wants to ask the mascot a question. Listen to how he answers.
很高兴见到你。
Let's play that again.
Yeah, let's play that again. Let's play that again. Okay, it sounds like a drunk uncle. So let's
哎，
just,
你好呀，
你好。
很高兴见到你。
That means like I'm really happy to see you.
Oh, Jiandan, yeah, I'm happy to meet you.
I'm happy to meet you.
Yeah.
He's like in an uncle. We call it an uncle voice.
Yes.
It's like a 56-year-old man.
Yeah, like
voice.
with a cigarette hanging out of his
Yes.
mouth.
And so I'm gonna quote some Chinese people online.
Just one more time.
好呀，
你好。
很高兴见到你。
So
Yeah.
this is,
Okay.
let me quote some Chinese people. I'll translate this. It says, "Oh no, Bing Duan Duan started talking before. I've been hurt when I opened the Taobao, which is kind of like Chinese Amazon,
Yeah, eBay. Amazon,
or- yeah.
same thing.
and I wanted to buy a Bing Duan Duan key ring. I guess they're selling key rings as well. I would think of the voice of a middle-aged man, and everyone's like freaking out because
Yeah.
like they wanted one so bad, but this has spoiled all
spoiled it,
fantasy,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
That it's like a cute thing. So then to further the damage,
Yeah.
they came up with a jingle,
A jingle for Bing Duan Duan.
to sell them.
Yeah.
Why don't you play it?
Yeah, play it. Listen to this.
我只是想要一支冰墩墩啊，我只是想要一支冰墩墩啊。
Let's translate that.
我只是想要一个冰墩墩啊. This just means like I want to.
Yeah, I want a Bing Duan Duan.
Yeah, but it's like an uncle voice.
Yes,
it's like
it's
a
like-
Baijiu commercial voice.
It is. Like, I only want a
Yeah,
Bing Duan Duan.
yeah.
But it sounds terrible.
我只是想要一支冰墩墩啊。
我只是想要一支冰墩墩啊. Go back to the go back to the whole thing. I want to play that together with the
the
drunk
interview?
uncle
Okay,
interview.
drunk uncle.
Just so you guys can have a Bing Duan Duan in your
I'm pretty sure he just wants a Bing Lang rather than a Bing Duan Duan, you know?
Yeah.
Okay, let's go for it.
哎，你好呀，
你好。
很高兴见到你。
我只是想要一支冰墩墩啊，我只是想要一支冰墩墩啊，我只是想要一支冰墩墩啊。
That's guys. That's gonna be in your head all
Yeah,
day.
yeah. If you speak Chinese, that you're never going to get that out of your head.
So that is the official mascot of the Beijing 2022 Olympics. And to be honest, that guy's voicing that is a perfect representation of how the Olympics is going.
I agree with you.
It's an absolute disaster.
It's been a lot of nonsense going on, which of course we're going to cover in our main segment.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's see what else is. Oh yes,
I just thought this was a good one.
we thought we should throw this in because we came across this. Now remember,
Explain what these selling platform streaming things are.
okay, you get this live stream thing, and
Yeah.
it's quite common these days. People will live stream, but they're live streaming in order to sell products. So what they'll do is they'll dance with vegetables, for instance, or they'll, I don't know, be selling some clothing, and they'll like dance and sing a song and like buy my clothing, blah blah blah. What this particular couple, I guess, or this
their friends,
man and
coworkers.
this man and woman over here, what they're doing is they're selling durian, which is this very stinky fruit. I mean, if you've had it, you know it. If you haven't
People
had it,
know what durian
yeah.
is.
I don't know. Like I didn't know durian before I went to China.
People just because of TV, it's so popular now because people do travel shows and stuff.
Maybe not everyone watches like Korean dramas like you though.
No. Like Andrew Zimmerman, Anthony Bourdain, any of those mainstream.
Yeah, I didn't watch that stuff. So for me,
I'm saying now.
Oh, now
it's
yeah.
very,
Anyway,
very popular.
they're selling durian, but now. It's very important that you pay attention to this gentleman over here. Watch his face, okay? Please, just watch his face. We're going to play this, but please, just only watch his face. Here we go.
一号链接榴莲，榴莲签词儿，榴莲签词儿，到手有2个，59.9块9，到手有2个，捧臭，吃着很好吃。
Okay, so I don't know if you noticed. I mean, this happens to her
you
face
can watch
too.
hers, yeah, but his is the most.
It's ridiculous. These face filters that they use are just outlandish. Actually, you know, I shot a documentary in 2019 called Stay Awesome China, and I went to go visit one of those houses where the women live and they stream. That's what they do for a living. They basically sleep, wake up, do a stream for a number of hours. Then another one takes over. They go to sleep. It's this ridiculous setup. So anyway, they did that face filter thing on me. And I got to sit down in front of the camera. It made me look like an alien.
You look like a pretty alien.
Like a pretty alien, yeah. You know, like with massive eyes and a thin. But, you know, it's just kind of ridiculous. I don't understand why people can't just be genuine anymore.
So I want to say something.
Yes.
When I posted this on Instagram,
Yes.
a lot of people thought that he was using a face filter to make himself look more manly.
Oh, no, it's the opposite.
I know.
It's the
I'm not
opposite.
even joking, though. A lot of people actually thought, they're like, oh, he wants that stronger jawline.
No. The
No.
app, the app is... all of these face filters are designed around the Chinese standard of beauty, which is actually based on the Korean standard of beauty, which is actually based on the Japanese standard of beauty. It kind of goes that way around.
Yeah.
And this whole, egg, they call it the egg, right?
Yeah.
You used to be able to see, they had to have an advert where they have an egg this way, with the kind of like the fat side of the oval is at the bottom, and then they turn it around, okay? Mm-hmm. So the thin part's at the bottom and the fat part's at the top.
Correct.
And that would be for plastic surgery clinics.
It's like those 90s, alien things. Excuse me.
Yeah,
you know those alien things in the 90s is far out, and it's like an 8-ball and a skull and like an alien face.
Yeah.
It's like that.
Yeah, so a very pointed chin.
Yes.
Of course, and kind of like a slanty face. That's Chinese beauty standards. And so that's what these filters attempt
Let's play it
to
again.
do. So once again, you can take a look at him.
She's rapping about durian.
Yeah, durian. And, because she's blocking her face with the microphone, it messes up the filter on her face. But you can see it there too.
You know what bothers me is she's
What?
obviously singing some sort of bullshit song about durian, selling durian and stuff, but there's no tune.
There's no music.
There's no music.
Actually, what bothers me is this guy is just standing there.
Yeah, he looks dead in his soul.
with earphones on.
Yeah.
Is he even dancing? Let's see.
No, he's not.
No, he's just standing.
1号链接榴莲，榴莲签词儿，榴莲签词儿，到手有2个，59块9，到手有2个，捧臭，吃着很好吃。
Yeah, I don't really know what to say about that, other than it shows you how these face filters are just so pervasive everywhere.
Yeah, I just wanted people to know that it's not him trying to look more manly.
No, totally not.
And it's not him trying to do anything. The chick wants the filter.
Yes, yeah.
And he's getting the secondhand smoke from this.
He totally is. He didn't want that.
You know why? He's pissed off.
That's probably why he's got his arms
and I
crossed.
would be too.
He's like, I'm done with this.
He already looks pretty handsome. He doesn't want to be turned into an alien. No. What the hell happened?
Cool. Anyway. So I guess it's time for us to move into our main segment after a couple of super chats.
Yeah,
what do you think?
Let me check something.
Okay, we'll check something in a second.
Okay, we're good.
All right. Let's do it.
Yeah, just do the original one then.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have Lightseeker with Virus Jansen.
Virus Jansen. I'm going to remember that one.
Yeah. Jinwan Ni says, due to this podcast, every Friday the CCP lives in the fear.
Oh, they do. Yes, they do.
We'll live in the fear.
They will be living in the fear.
Yeah, you will live in the fear.
Orcavino says, regarding the guy that grabbed the Dutch reporter, do you think he's okay, or is he living in the fear for shaming China on an international broadcast?
There's been a lot of interesting talk about that. basically, we know somebody who knows the Dutch guy and has spoken to him.
Sure.
And, you know, it's been happening to a lot of reporters. Usually they don't broadcast live. That's not something that normally happens in China. We discussed this last time.
Sure.
Usually they just set up, they film their little piece to camera and later gets edited and uploaded. So this happens a lot, but it's usually not caught live. And we know a lot of people who actually still have the recordings of this, but they don't want to release it.
We know journalists in China that we actually talked to them after this event.
Yeah.
We won't give too many details,
Sure.
especially about this guy. I don't think he was super pumped that this went viral.
No, he doesn't like that viral.
He's a nice guy.
Super nice, yeah.
Anyway, so a bunch of journalists, they were talking about how, we were in a group chat, we were talking about how this happens all the time.
Yes.
Not just for the Beijing Olympics, all the time. We know already.
Yeah.
But like for the few journalists that are left over, it's constant now.
Yeah.
They're always being pushed around and stopped.
Yeah.
You know, you can't film there even though they're allowed to.
Yes.
Yeah.
The annoying thing is that the Chinese netizens then went on to say that he specifically stood in an area that was off limits because he wanted this to happen and all that kind of crap. Whereas he actually asked if he could film there. He was told that he could film there, and only when he started filming did they move him along.
Yeah, they didn't necessarily want to like film there. He wanted a place that they were allowed to film.
Yeah, they gave him the go ahead. You know, it's kind of just a bunch of nonsense anyway. Let's do one more.
Ehorm says, I wonder if this super chat puts me on a watch list somewhere. Oh, you know it.
I doubt
The
it.
coolest watch list in
Yeah,
the world.
yeah.
Anyway,
That's true. We're going to hit our soft power. Okay, it's soft power hour. Now we're going to talk about the Olympics. And we're going to talk about how soft power has kind of, I don't know, it's not done what they wanted it to do. It's backfired this time.
Yeah, so actually, just before we even get into it, I just want to leave it on this B-roll in the background.
Sure.
Which was just taken the other day.
Yeah, it's very recent, by the way.
In Beijing?
3 days ago, yeah.
Yeah, big city, I should say.
Yeah.
People will know it's Beijing.
Yeah,
if you know
Beijing.
Beijing, you'll know it. Anyway, so the Olympics, as we were speaking about prior, you know, the whole boycott thing, it was something that China was so desperate to kind of kibosh. They didn't want any bad press. We actually noticed this in our last podcast when we brought up the Olympics. I believe it was before it even started, right? Yeah. The amount of unbelievable hatred and deflection that we were getting in the live chats was crazy, and you could tell that they were tasked to stop any conversation about this.
That's
really.
what the Wu Mao do.
Yeah.
That's their entire purpose for existing.
So I'm going to talk about this a lot in my upcoming video about why the Olympics is so important. But to give you a very succinct version, the Olympics in 2008 was so important for China. And I'll get into the leadership and stuff later, but it was so important for China from a soft power perspective because nobody was paying attention to China at the time.
Yes.
And they put on the most elegant and insane, crazy red carpet performance that the Olympics had ever seen in any country, right?
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, people are like, oh, you know, it's that poor country, China over there. And China just, they wow everyone. Everyone in the whole world was blown away.
Yeah, they're like, wow, China's come out
Right.
you know, and shown us that it's a big superpower. And
Yes, and that was a net positive win. It was almost the first instance of soft power working. This is a bit of a historical lesson of soft power working for the Communist Party of China. And it also was an example of how kind of China was like, we want to be part of this international picture. And people are like, let's start paying attention to China. Maybe they do want to play nice. Right?
Yeah, sorry, just this tilt thing's getting
It's crazy,
to me.
dude. I'm falling off.
Yeah, it's like, what's going on here? We're like
I'm
in a
looking at the
90s.
camera. How did you not even notice that?
It's like
I
we're in
should've
a
looked at
90s
it.
music video. or something.
Yeah.
You know,
Need
just
to
move around.
A couple
Yeah.
zooms.
But you know,
Anyway.
you know, I got to say that I was there during the 2008 Olympics in China, and they were so paranoid that anything could go wrong that they even locked us foreigners up. As in, I was studying at the Shenzhen University. I've told the story before. You've probably heard it. Maybe some haven't. But we were told that we would not be allowed to leave the campus. The foreigners, Chinese people could.
Yeah.
But they were like, listen, the teacher who liked us very much actually came and told me and a group of other people. They said, look, if you don't leave here within the next hour, you're not going to be able to leave for the rest of the day because the torch was going to be run through past the university because that part of Nanshan is particularly pretty, you know, along that one road, and they'd set it all up. And they're like, foreigners are not allowed to leave the campus. They were so paranoid at that time. But luckily we got told beforehand. So me and a couple of mates, we quickly ducked out and went and got pissed.
Nice.
But, you know, we didn't go out because we didn't want to be, you know, shooed away or whatever.
Sure.
But they were paranoid.
Right. So that's the stuff you didn't see. But the performances, the stuff that they showed the rest of the world impressed everyone. So It actually had a lot of implications for Xi Jinping as a leader of China, right?
Yeah.
That's another story for another time. But they thought that the Beijing 2022 Olympics, which I don't know how they get another bid. Well, I do know.
Yeah.
The IOC, the International Olympic Committee,
They
is a piece
suck.
of shit.
But you're going to see how much they suck
Oh
later
my
on.
gosh. But anyway, Xi Jinping kind of, thought of this as another potential soft power win, but China has been facing so much backlash because of how bad it's gotten.
Yeah.
China was facing a lot of human rights issues before, but it's 10 times worse now.
That's the thing, though. In the past, because China kept opening up, I think a lot of people gave them
They're
a
like,
free
okay.
pass. They were like, look, they still have issues. Yes, the Tibet issue. Yes, this.
Yeah.
This was before the whole Xinjiang
Yeah.
Uyghur thing came to light.
Yes.
And so people were like, you know what? Yeah, they've got some issues. The one-child policy,
But they're going to liberalize.
But they're getting better, so that kind of thing's hopefully going to go away.
Look, people are able to open their own businesses now.
Yeah.
People are allowed to have reproductive rights now. All this kind of stuff was being passed around. And so it was kind of concrete examples of why China was opening up. So
Yeah.
when you have the reversal of that, and now, I mean, for lack of better words, China's literally become the new Nazi Germany.
Yeah.
It's a fascist state. It's a
It's
Han
racial
ethno
superiority.
state. Yeah. And its laws suggest that it wants a Han majority ethno
Yeah.
state.
Yeah, exactly.
And it operates as such, and the rights and the liberalization that we've seen has gone away. So now the press, I think there's this really awful complex that China's gone through, is that the leadership doesn't know about this stuff.
Yeah.
I think they do to a certain extent. Obviously, they have millions of people tasked with kind of damage control and
Yes.
promoting China's soft power. But at the same time, the top leadership that wants things like the Beijing Olympics don't understand the implications that come with that, because Xi Jinping, Li Keqiang, all these people at the top head, they don't have people, they've surrounded themselves with people that only tell them good things.
Yes.
Yes men, right?
Yeah.
Yes, do this bullshit policy that is not a good idea.
Yeah.
Yes, do this. And if you don't, or if you're corrupt, you'll be deemed corrupt and we'll literally kill you.
Yeah.
Or make you vanish or kick you out of the party. So I think what they haven't realized is that this was definitely a bad idea.
Yes.
Especially around this sensitive time when you're running genocide camps and things like this. When you're doing things that are hyper focused in the media, people like us are covering it. Even every single mainstream media is not ignoring China anymore.
Yeah.
The last thing you want to do is have an international Olympics
Yeah.
surrounding and bringing attention to these issues, right?
Correct, yeah.
So I think that this is really blown up in their face, and I think a lot of these foibles and stuff could have been ignored, like
Yeah.
the bad shit that's happening during the Olympics. But because of the hyper attentive focus on China in general, we're looking at things like the cheating,
Yes.
the venues, the food, the leaks,
The treatment of
the athletes.
Yeah.
All of these things are piling up and getting hyper focused too. So it's actually a net negative to
Yes.
me, I think, as for a soft power loss.
Yes,
for China.
definitely a soft power loss. But they didn't understand that Xi Jinping needed this to solidify his leadership, because
Yeah.
it was the 2008 Olympics that actually gave him his leadership in the first place, because he was given political responsibility for those games. And
That's
because they
correct.
were so successful,
Yeah.
that's what catapulted him to the forefront to
Correct.
become the new leader of China.
One of the worst things that happens. Soft power,
Yeah.
and this is like, we talk about this like it's a joke or something sometimes, but soft power, in fact, does lead to horrendous consequences,
Yeah.
like, modern day Hitler being in charge of China now.
That's right.
If without the Olympic soft power win in 2008, we wouldn't be where we are today.
No, absolutely not. So we're going to move into the all the drama.
Yes.
Let's start out with, like, everybody, please take a look in the background. What do you
I
see?
hope you're hungry. 西餐就是这个是
就是西餐
就是你们西餐，你不要吃我们中国餐。
Yeah, exactly.
This is
Western
what they call,
food.
Yeah, it's what they call Western food.
Yeah. Okay, so if you look at this doesn't look very appetizing.
No.
But this is what they were feeding 3 meals a day to the Russian athlete who felt sick.
By the way, I added color to this because I did autocorrect.
Oh, you had to add
it's
color.
even grayer than this.
I mean, look, when you have the eyes of the world on you and you're running this massive billions and billions of dollars that they've invested in this, right? Hundreds of billions of dollars, who knows? It's just a crazy amount of money. Surely you can make sure that the meals that are served to the athletes are, mwah, like,
It's literally
get
prison.
Gordon Ramsay to come in and do it. You know what I'm
Sure.
saying? But, that's a very typical kind of a thing that you come across in China,
For
you know?
for like shizan.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
shizan, which is Western food.
Yeah.
Because I'll be honest with you, that's not normal food that Chinese people would eat. Like,
No, no.
that kind of macaroni or whatever you call that stuff, the
Penne, yeah.
penne pasta, is not normal. Okay, you mian get idali mian tiao, which is just like spaghetti bolognese or something.
or with like ketchup.
Yeah, exactly.
Western food in China sucks, by the way.
Just
I don't even
just-
like you. I hate the phrase Western food. I
Yeah,
think it's
it's not.
such bullshit.
Yeah, because it just means anything that's not Chinese.
Yes.
You know,
I always hated that.
You don't eat potatoes like that in China. That's not normal. I think that's like a mini chicken or something. What is that? There's like a pigeon
it looks
or something.
like maybe a pigeon.
Yeah, whatever. It's a small
Small
bird of some kind, and some lamb chops, and it's probably baked beans.
Now the issue, I think that's actually marinara sauce, but
Oh, you think? Oh yeah, for the penne.
so
whatever.
so the problem with this is as unappetizing as this food looks.
Yeah.
This is so these are for star athletes. I'm not saying anyone
Yeah.
should get special treatment or anything,
Oh,
but
you should. No, you got to understand. Like athletes need good food because that's what
agree.
fuels their body.
I agree.
Right.
Now my point is like I'm just trying not to put anyone on a
Okay.
pedestal, you know, literally with gold medals and hanging up. But like
sure.
it's not what they would feed their own athletes.
No.
And it's not done. This is not done necessarily maliciously. What you're seeing here is actually worse than the image.
Yeah.
Because it turns out that the food sources that they were sourcing the food from were contaminated or old, outdated, right?
Yeah.
The food sources also contained high amounts of hormones and chemicals. And there's actually some videos out there that were some Chinese people tracing the supply chain of food that was supplying the Olympics.
Right.
And it doesn't surprise me at all because China, the way it works is if there's money to be had, let's say the top-down government has a huge budget and they just chuck money at a problem, hey, go source some food.
Yeah.
They will find the literal cheapest option. I kid you not, I have so many examples of this, even down to a familial level. For example, I was running a company in China, right?
Yeah.
And my mother-in-law always would look out for me and she would cook delicious food for me. She always made sure that I was well taken care of.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
But there was a distant family member in the family that was very poor.
Right.
So all of us in the family wanted to give her an opportunity.
Right.
So what she would do is I would pay her from company funds, and actually I think my mother-in-law even chipped in just to help out.
Yeah.
To have her go to the market and then cook food. So she
Yes.
would get, I don't know, 30 RMB,
Yeah.
right? To go put together the meal that my mother-in-law had planned out.
Sure.
Good nutritious food for work, right?
Yeah.
Just so I could help her out, help
Yeah.
out a poor family member.
Sure.
She would go and buy rotten food at the market with her friends that worked at the market, by the way, for a couple RMB.
Yeah.
Cook that and say she used it up and then pocket the change. And she was in the family.
I know.
This is a microcosm of this, right?
Don't forget there's tenderpreneurship as well.
Yeah.
So it's nepotism. Oh, we need to source food, so let's use uncle or nephew this or so you understand how it works. There's a lot of shortcuts taken.
I just thought there was some personal anecdotes to throw into this. We know how this works. If
Yeah.
there's a big, like you said, tenderpreneurship, there's a big project where there's money
Yeah,
to
like
be
you're
made.
going to supply the food
Yep.
for the Olympics.
Yep.
Let's get Uncle Ho with his
Yeah.
He's got a food business. Let's get him to
Let's
do it.
get him involved.
And then he doesn't want to do it.
No.
He gets the money and then he'll pay someone else. It gets passed on. Remember that situation where there was that hitman? And they hired somebody to be a
Great
hitman and
example.
paid him like, I don't know, whatever it was, 50,000 RMB, right?
Yeah.
And then he didn't want to do the job. So he paid someone else 20,000
Yeah.
RMB to do the job. That person then paid someone else 10,000 RMB. And eventually the guy right at the end of the chain went to the police and they all got into trouble.
Yeah, they all
know
got
what I mean?
arrested because
It's
they
like-
were like, this is not worth the
Yeah,
the
because he's
hassle.
like, I'm not going to kill someone for 1,000
No.
RMB or whatever the last person on the chain was going to say.
Right.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's kind of a good example.
That's a great
Yeah.
example, and it's common even in the Olympics, right?
Sure.
And you can see this from the food is just one very palpable example that's easy to understand, but
Yeah.
even the venues, right?
Yeah.
The areas that things were held, the conditions.
Yeah.
I should have thrown in this picture, but this Finnish athlete,
Oh, with the leaking
her
roof.
room flooded, right? And you can tell it's this temporary situation where everything is done for face.
I'll just change the slide so people don't get grossed out anymore.
Sure. So look good,
Yeah.
right? Just like those hospitals they built in Wuhan.
Yes.
They built these overnight hospitals in Wuhan to house all the hospital patients, and everyone's like, "Wow, this is amazing! Look, they can 14 days. They can what is it?
Yeah.
14
Whatever,
days,
7 days. It was very quick.
They built
But-
all these temporary hospitals, and all of them were leaking.
Yeah.
and dilapidated.
Yeah.
and that kind of stuff happens because the next person tries to make money. And it
Yeah.
gets passed down the line.
Shortcuts in construction is quite common in China.
Next
so, yeah.
piece of drama is the venues.
Oh, the venues, yes. Stunning venues, I gotta say. I mean, look, when you think of winter sports, you always have this like alpine, what do you call those bungalows where you've got the little like
cabins.
fire cabins and
Yeah.
fire and all the glamorous. I always think of like James Bond movies and stuff. You know what I mean?
With a bearskin rug.
Yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
it's always like that kind of thing,
Drinking
and
hot
like
cocoa.
pretty women, and like
And the ski
handsome men
clothes.
all dressed up well in their like the turtleneck jersey,
Yes,
like
yes.
sipping whatever, like sherry at the
Yes.
fire, that kind of thing.
That kind of shit.
Not when it comes to the Winter Olympics in China. Not only do they not have snow, they had to artificially create snow, but they chose this
I mean, okay.
as their high jump venue.
I would like to explain the logic behind this.
Yes.
So you will look at this and say, certainly they could have picked a better place. Like, there are actually pretty beautiful mountains fairly close to Beijing.
Yeah,
Right?
sure.
That they could have done this.
Oh, absolutely.
Now, you might be surprised to learn that this was done on purpose. And this is for a separate reason. I watched some coverage of this, and I suspected this to be the case, but I watched some Chinese coverage of this, and there was some Chinese coverage that was exclaiming how this was a good piece of scenery to show
Yeah.
because it shows how developed China is.
Yeah.
And this is the disconnect of the party versus the people versus the outside world.
This is also supposed to be a decommissioned steel mill or something. So
Yes.
they're trying to show how we're green technology. We're reusing
dual purpose.
It's kind of this whole thing. And so a lot of the tankies and so on are going on about that. Look how China, rather than just
Right.
letting it go to ruin or whatever, they repurpose it for something
Right.
useful, green technology. But that's a bunch of bull. Okay.
But there was also coverage that was saying, look at these old cooling towers and
Yeah.
stuff. This shows that we have infrastructure.
yeah,
Right.
for sure.
So it's like they swung the story in every direction, but
At the end of the day, it's an eyesore.
it looks horrific.
It looks terrible.
Right. And it doesn't promote nature. You
No.
wouldn't look at that and say, look at this nature. You'd say, this is the end of, this is Chernobyl.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. You're like, I don't want to be here.
This is Apex Legends.
Yeah.
This is PUBG.
Yeah, I like this one where somebody took Mordor and put it in there because it's kind of it's got that feeling to it,
I want
especially the
everyone-
macro shot.
Yeah, I want everyone
I mean,
to look at the bottom at the
yeah.
macro.
Sorry,
or
it's
at
not
the,
macro.
at the wide. Yeah.
Wide. Sorry.
Look at the wide shot. You can see the white thing in the middle. That's
the
actually,
ramp.
this is the area. And I'd like people to understand that, yes, they could have picked a better venue, but this is actually quite representative of what a lot of China looks like.
Yeah.
When we filmed China in a positive light when we were there, we would always avoid things like
We
this
would
on
try, and
purpose.
it would be difficult. Okay, no joke. When we used to do all of our ADVChina videos, we used to every week I'd drive up from Shenzhen, take me about an hour to get out of the sprawl. Okay, you have to get out of the sprawl, and then there's a little gap of nature, a very small gap, and then you get into Huizhou.
Right.
So I'd get up to Huizhou every time. I'd go over to our office. We had an office in Huizhou. We had a little bike shop and everything, right? So what's going on?
I don't know what that was.
Never mind. So what we'd do is we'd go up to get to the office, and we get on our bikes, and we'd literally have to ride for at least 45 minutes to get
Yep.
away from from the factories and the gross trucks and
And that was in a good province.
remember, and we'd almost die every time because that truck
yeah.
road,
Truck road.
and that's kind of not even in a sprawl.
That was a
sprawl.
death road.
Yeah. So we'd have to ride a long way to get away from this before you could get some beautiful, like if you watch our ADVChina videos, we're usually in some kind of natural place. It took us forever to get to those places, and we'd always bump up the saturation.
Yeah.
Remember?
We did that on purpose. We lied
yeah.
in our footage.
Yeah, we bumped up the saturation because it would look so gray and
It
crap.
looked too bad.
But it looks terrible. If you go look at our old ADV videos, a lot of them, it's like so oversaturated.
We would blow it out. And
Yeah.
actually, I have a joke here. Why
Yeah.
don't you play that?
Is that
play
coming
this through
next?
here.
Yeah.
So this is the wide shot coming up here, so you guys
Yeah.
can see. So that's the ski jump in the
There's
center.
the ski jump. You can see it. Okay.
surrounded by absolute hell, really.
Yeah. It's not.
And that,
cool.
but when I look, that was going around as a meme.
Yeah.
Before my gut instinct was not to look at this like a meme. I was like, oh, China.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's what a lot of China looks like, especially in these northern central provinces.
Yeah.
Wow.
It can be, if you've ever ridden a motorcycle like we have through some of these areas,
gosh.
it's relentless. You can literally keep riding for 12 hours, and you will not see anything other than just this factory sprawl and coal trucks, and it's something to behold. Is all I
Yes.
can say. Anyway,
So yeah, go to the next one. So I've someone in our subreddit, reddit.com/r/ADVChina.
Yeah.
the user is JohnSmart42.
Yeah.
He decided to fix this, and I think he's riffing off of some of the old hilarious jokes we did about how China oversaturates.
Oversaturators, yeah. And we're guilty of doing that too. Like we did.
Oh, we are.
Our old.
Yeah, because we didn't want China to look bad.
No, we're trying to show the most positive aspects of China when we were living there.
So this is a little taste of what we,
what we used to do.
Yeah. This is just to make it look a little nicer. You want to go swimming in there.
Yeah, it looks great
play in
now.
that green
That's all you
field.
needed to do, right?
That's all you needed to do. You fix it.
Yeah.
That's a 256 grayscale palette.
You know what we should do? Because I know that we have a lot of our old footage. We still have kind of the raw stuff. Most of it.
Also, yeah.
We should do a comparison and show what it really looked like compared to what we put up on the YouTube videos. And early, we stopped doing that, by the way. It's just that we started doing it after a short period. Remember, I'd come up for it'd been a month. And every single time it was this gross gray sky type situation. And we kept you can see us making excuses in our videos. We're like, it looks like North Korea again. It's not normally like this, guys. Normally it's nice and blue sky or whatever. But actually, no, it's not true. It was only occasionally.
We do kind of what we're not to the same extent like tankies. We wouldn't say there's no genocide, and we wouldn't defend human rights abuses. We would avoid talking about stuff.
Oh, absolutely.
Just so we didn't go to jail. But at the same time, we're guilty of what some of them do now when they post, they go through their photo album and post the blue sky day that they found. Yeah. Right. And they're like, this is, look at how amazing it is. Yeah. All the time.
Well, I mean, you want to do that because you want people to think that, you didn't make a bad mistake by moving.
Yeah.
And you want people to know you're having a great time. You're having an adventure.
Sure.
There's so many interesting and cool things to see.
Yeah.
And it gets depressing after a while, to be honest. Look at the footage in the background here. That's completely unedited, undoctored. That's just how it is. It's kind of a little gray.
It's a pretty gray country.
It can be. It can also be incredibly beautiful.
Yeah,
that's the thing. It can be. That's why we would try our best to get away from all the gray factory stuff. Drive for an hour on our bikes to get to that.
You know what? Our documentaries, Conquering Southern and Northern China, where we're a conglomerate of all these beautiful places we've been to. We map them out, and then we go film there.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, and you can see the best of what China has to offer in Conquering Southern and Northern China. We saw some amazing stuff, and it's stuff that we genuinely wanted to show the world, because that is genuinely...
We want to celebrate the good stuff.
The good side of China,
for sure.
Absolutely. Anyway, we're getting sidetracked. Let's get back to the drama. So let's talk about Eileen Goo.
I'll give a quick rundown.
Yeah.
Since I covered this. So, Eileen Goo, an American citizen. Mm-hmm. She is an 18-year-old freestyle skier.
Yep.
Who switched sides, decided to start skiing for China. It's a whole different topic. But the point is that she is embroiled in some drama, because what happened is after she decided to switch sides and start skiing for China, the dialogue turned from, hey, well, why did you support all of these, human rights issues in America? Right?
Yeah, because she's a vocal supporter of Black Lives Matter
and Stop Asian Hate.
Yeah, Stop Asian Hate.
Stuff that we've also endorsed and supported. So same page there, no problem. But then when it comes to the human rights issues in China that people are not just pressuring her, but openly talking about right now, stuff we need to talk about right now, the Uyghur genocide, the lack of the complete alienation and destruction of religious freedom, freedom of speech, Great Firewall of China, all of these massive
Hong Kong issues, Tibet,
all these huge issues that are really Peng Shuai, these things that everyone is talking about. It's not like some niche little after school China club conversations. We're talking about stuff that everyone is talking about and wants opinions and support on, right?
Yes.
Okay, you want to go ski for China, do whatever you want, right? You have Chinese. But that doesn't mean you can stay silent on issues that you've talked about in America and then completely, actually verbally abuse people that call you out on being silent about the issues in China, right? It's calling them uneducated and things like this. And you can explain what her big to me, a big mistake was here.
This really pissed me off. First of all, she broke China's laws, because you're not allowed to ski for China. You're not allowed to participate for China on behalf of China unless you have only a Chinese nationality. You're not allowed to have a dual nationality. But it just shows you how bullshit the Chinese government is, because they make an exception when it works out for them. So she didn't get rid of her American nationality, because
from what we've seen, it's
the public records don't show that she did not renounce her American citizenship. Okay. Right. So in other words, she is a dual citizen. So by Chinese law, she should not have been able to compete on their behalf.
Correct.
But of course, she probably was like,
China has no law, and if you walk away from this episode knowing anything, please understand that Chinese law doesn't exist.
It's basically up to official discretion at the
correct.
time. They can be like, oh, you just broke the law, but I don't care, you're fine.
That's
or
correct.
they can be, I don't like you, you didn't really break the law, but you know what, you're going to jail
Yes,
anyway.
correct.
So it just depends. Anyway, here's the part that really pissed me off. This really, really got to me, okay? Okay, I'm just going to take myself out so we can read this this little conversation that was going on here. So,
This is a Chinese woman that wrote this, by the way.
yeah, this is a Chinese woman. Eileen Goo was posting on Instagram about like she's having fun and all the normal crap that you get, right? And a Chinese woman posted this saying, "Why can you use Instagram and millions of Chinese people from mainland cannot? Why you got such special treatment as a Chinese citizen? That's not fair. Can you speak up for those millions of Chinese who don't have internet freedom?" So Eileen Goo replied, "Anyone can download a VPN. It's literally free on the App Store." Now, this is a then let them eat cake moment.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
Because that's bullshit. First of all, not literally. I've got this like Valley Girl accent in my head.
I know. It's
Like literally, just everybody can go get it. You know.
This is bad.
Yeah, you can't. It's illegal. To use a VPN in China is illegal. People have been arrested. There are hundreds of documented cases of people who just viewed news on Twitter, made a tweet, posted something on Facebook or anything like that that have actually been arrested, okay? Fined a huge amount of money, detained, put under house arrest, some gone to jail, especially if you're a Uyghur and you access... You know what I mean?
If you use a VPN and you're if you're from Xinjiang, if you're a Uyghur minority, it's second-degree terrorism.
Yes.
You go to jail, potentially die.
Yeah, you're effed. So for her to say something like that is absolutely disgusting.
So I was talking to a Chinese guy about this,
Yeah.
and he was like, "This is effed up." He was super pissed off because he said, "What if somehow this gets out and goes on Weibo or something? This like spreads out, and then all of a sudden, a bunch of students or a bunch of Uyghurs or whatever, someone sees this and they're like, oh, did the law change or something?"
Mm-hmm.
And they go try to find means of finding a VPN, and then they get arrested.
Yeah.
It has huge implications. It's super immoral to make statements like this, and it's completely false.
Yeah.
So I followed this up past like what you're going to see on a news website. What happened was it was initially met with a bunch of bot accounts from China that were saying like, you go Eileen, like, yeah, you tell them, like,
you tell
this
them
is
like,
bullshit. Don't worry.
Those haters gonna hate. That's how.
Go to the next couple screenshots. I actually want to go through a comment that I picked out here.
Yeah.
That I think exemplifies a lot of what I was reading. This one was in English. It says, so this is to the Chinese woman that was saying that it's not fair that they can't use VPNs, right?
Yeah.
She says, "We can use a VPN and it's quite convenient. After using VPN for 2 weeks, I started to think that firewall is some kind of protection." She's talking about the Great Firewall of China, banning all foreign websites. "It protects us from being harassed by some idiots on Instagram and on any other platforms. And frankly speaking, we Chinese people don't really care about Instagram or Twitter because we don't need them. We have so many amazing domestic and creative social platforms, which obviously have less haters than Instagram." Now let me break this down.
Yeah.
When Eileen said that Chinese people can just go and
literally
download a VPN,
anyone can
do it.
Anyone can use a VPN, which is an absolute lie.
Yes.
It's like saying, "Oh lol, anyone can go and steal from other people."
Right.
"Oh lol, anyone can go shoot someone."
Yeah. It's a
It's
crime.
like that. It's a crime.
Right.
It's a criminal offense.
So the propaganda works both ways.
Yeah.
Now, China doesn't want anyone in China to see this. They don't want anyone to be talking about this issue. So what they did was release a bunch of bot accounts, especially ones that were speaking English, so that Westerners would read that and say, "Oh, well, this is bullshit. All this stuff I heard about VPNs being illegal."
Yeah, and people being blocked and the Chinese internet being censored isn't true, because it looks like, if they want to, they
can, right?
Of
If
course
they so
can't.
desire, right?
Why do you think the Chinese government has spent billions and billions and billions every freaking day just to keep that Chinese internet cut off and censored?
Right.
It's because they don't want their citizens gaining access to information that they cannot control.
Correct. That's all it is. But I've seen the propaganda accounts, and this is how it goes even deeper.
Yeah.
So I'll be covering this on my female propagandist influencer video. Is this narrative that no, the Great Firewall of China was not invented for censorship. Even though it was actually publicly claimed as such in the beginning.
It was,
right?
of course, developed for censorship.
It's that it was developed to protect Chinese companies so that they didn't have to face competition from juggernauts like Google and Facebook, right? Which is absolutely not true. I mean, that's a tiny part of it.
It's definitely a part of it.
Yeah, but like the censorship is exactly what happened.
The censorship is the main reason for it.
There were people speaking on platforms like Facebook that were organizing protests and things like that, and they shut it down lickety-split. So what's the problem I have with Eileen's statement is, number one, it's false. And number two, it's actually perpetuating the current government narrative. But let me tell you what happened.
Yeah.
Okay? I'll read this. The website Protocol, this is like a tech internet website.
Yeah, it's a website called Protocol. It's not a protocol of a website.
Noted that multiple users fired back at Goo that Chinese citizens don't have that freedom, not to subtly suggest that if Goo is in fact a Chinese citizen alone, which she has deliberately not confirmed, she is enjoying benefits her fellow citizens can't access. Screenshots of the exchange were censored from Chinese social media service Weibo. So what happened was China released Wumao bots. So Wumao are the paid internet shills. Released them to go support her message to say, yeah, shut up, you stupid Westerners.
Yes.
We can use a VPN if we want. And then when their job was done, censored the post.
So what you're seeing behind us here, this particular thing where she says, you know, anyone can download a VPN. It's literally free on the App Store, Hua Shui, whatever you say. And, you know, that stupid, annoying thing that she said is now censored, and you cannot see it on the Chinese internet. It has been scrubbed.
So this is what what happened, right?
Yeah.
At its Friday morning briefing, the International Olympic Committee was asked if deletion of the screenshots was a violation of Rule 50. And Rule 50 is the rule that permits athletes to speak freely on matters of their choosing outside the confines of the actual competition. Olympic law states that you can say whatever you want as long as it's not during the actual competition.
Right.
So Olympians, even in Beijing or no matter what country, you're allowed to do. They can have their little protests. They can do whatever they want.
Yeah.
Right. The IOC, the International Olympic Committee, declined the comment without further information. So they capitulated with China.
Yes.
To censor this comment, which was actually pro-CCP, by the way.
Yeah.
Because it's part of their disinformation campaign.
But it just shows, it absolutely demonstrates that what she said was false.
And I'll tell you why they got rid of it, though. Because it leaked on Weibo, like I said.
Yes.
When it leaked on the Chinese internet, guess what it was met with? I have pages here. Thousands of people absolutely furious at her.
Yeah.
Because she just crossed the line.
Yeah.
I knew this was going to happen. She's the darling child of China right now. Oh, the American that switched sides. Look, America's in decline. China's so developed. So proud to have her as a part of 我们中国, right?
Yeah.
她的祖国, like her home mother country, right? What happened was, in the end, is that when that leaked out, it backfired because Chinese people read that and said, we can't use a VPN.
No.
We're going to go to jail.
Yeah. Do you have any of those comments?
I have. We can put them in like the notes or something.
Yeah. Maybe read
They're all
one.
they're all in Chinese.
Oh, they're in Chinese, yeah.
But anyway, so but there's websites full of them. They're all over
Yeah.
this stuff. There's actually on that protocol website you can read some of them. Anyway,
Good.
So you have these people that are saying this is so unfair. It's not even funny because we're not allowed to do what she's doing. So she gets to play both sides. And
She gets to be a privileged elitist.
Do you think Chinese people are stupid? Of course not. They say, okay, so this American girl comes over. We can be proud of her to be Chinese or whatever.
She gets like $30 million worth of endorsements or whatever it is from, each one of her endorsements from each brand is netting her around about $2 million US dollars. Obviously, her agent takes a bit of that. But, that's a lot of money. She's got she's got like American brands lined up, various international brands, and a bunch of Chinese brands are also like endorsing her. So she's making tons of money. She gets to play both sides of the fence. She gets to be an American, but when it's not convenient, she gets to pretend to not be an American.
Correct.
You know what I mean? And vice versa. She gets to be a Chinese, and when it's not convenient, she gets to go back to whatever, Harvard or wherever she's studying, one of those top universities.
The way I see this whole thing is like it's an 18-year-old girl that wants to make a bunch of money. Her mom set her up to do this, all this kind of stuff. That's not the conversation. I think there's a lot of lessons to be learned past this.
Sure.
That the propaganda, when it's not convenient anymore, gets stopped and completely silenced. And what she did was correct for the Western propaganda, but when it came to Chinese people, they flipped immediately on her overnight, and there's a reason for that, and that's because she crossed the line. She did something that they're not allowed to do, and that's not fair.
It's not fair. But this is literally just ignorance and arrogance and privilege all rolled into one, Marie Antoinette let them eat cake moment, with this whole like, oh, anyone can download a VPN. It's literally free on the App Store.
Right.
LOL. Hashtag free on the App Store. Hashtag VPN. Anyone can gain access. Hashtag not censored internet in China.
Right.
Hashtag I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about.
Hashtag there's no Uyghur genocide. And you're uneducated if you think so, despite all the proof.
Exactly. Hashtag,
cool.
but I support BLM and other movements.
Right.
I support anti-Asian hate, but apparently Uyghurs aren't Asian now.
No, they're allowed to be genocided. That's fine.
Yeah. And
they're not Asian.
Taiwan's not.
According to her.
Taiwanese.
Oh yeah, Taiwanese people. That doesn't matter.
They aren't Asian. Japanese people aren't Asian. You know how much hate towards Japanese you hear in China.
Though. You won't hear shit.
You want to hear racism and hatred towards Asians? Go to China and ask anyone about the Japanese. You're gonna get some real racist hatred right there.
Those lives don't matter, according to.
No, seriously, it's frustrating, and everyone's like, "Oh, but she's just a young girl." Bullshit. She knows the position she's in, and she's an adult.
It's immoral. It's immoral.
Yeah, and she has to learn a little bit about the country that she's freaking skiing for.
Yeah, it's just not the time to do this. And okay, again, to cap this off, go ski for China. I don't give a shit, but don't have deafening silence when it comes to the actual issues that need to be talked about, and then don't make arrogant statements like this that is not fair to the millions of Chinese people that are completely cut off from the rest of the world.
Exactly.
It's bullshit.
So now we're going to move on to the IOC. Let's look at this. Video unavailable. This video is no longer available due to a copyright claim by International Olympic Committee.
This is what we're scared of.
Let's hope this doesn't happen to us. We've tried our best to... We've used almost no footage, and we've messed with it so that it's unrecognizable, but you never know. Here's the thing, guys. There have been a lot of scandals when it comes to not only cheating, but don't forget when Jüri is falling. Jüri is falling. Jüri is the unfortunate... Jüri is that figure skater.
It's in here, dude.
You got pictures of her?
I got
you
video,
got the thing.
bro.
Well, okay. Well, before we show it, because in case they cut us off.
Okay, yeah.
Jüri is she actually gave up her U.S. citizenship. She was born in California and she grew up and she moved to China. And in order to skate for China, they didn't accept that she had a U.S. passport as well as a Chinese one. So she renounced her U.S. citizenship in order to skate for China.
That's right.
Okay? She did it the right way, as per Chinese laws. Not like Eileen Goo, right?
Right.
However, she messed up and she fell down, okay? She fell down in the first thing and she, moved the team down to 5th place from 2nd place or whatever. And she received massive amounts of vitriol and attacks from Chinese netizens saying she's not good enough, she should go back to America, she can't even speak Chinese properly, how dare she represent China, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Which is what they would do to Eileen Goo if she crashed and burned too.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
yeah. If she didn't get the gold, if she screwed up,
yeah,
kick her to the curb, just like Jüri.
Yeah. Jüri is falling. Anyway, the fact of the matter, she fell. Now, that clip of her falling has more or less been scrubbed off of the internet by the International Olympic Committee.
Oh my gosh, and why is that?
Well, okay, there's a number of reasons. Number one, of course, it got completely scrubbed off of Chinese internet. Okay, the Chinese government has decided that this is bad press because she was getting so badly attacked. The hashtag Jüri has fallen. Okay.
Every time.
Yeah.
Jüri has fallen.
Anyway,
little Pearl Jam.
When that hashtag came out, it was like number 1 on Weibo, and it was going crazy. They scrubbed the hashtag. They scrubbed all the footage and the pictures of her falling over. Okay, because it was making China look bad, because they didn't want to put off people like Eileen Goo, because imagine if someone like Eileen Goo had a couple of brain cells and she saw what happened to Jüri, she might say, wait, that could happen to me too. Maybe I shouldn't skate for China or ski for China, whatever, to do some winter sport for China. So they scrubbed it, and the IOC went around scrubbing it from all international news articles and stuff too. This screenshot that we took was from a major newspaper, online newspaper, and they included a video of Jüri falling, and that got taken down.
Jüri is falling.
What we're saying is that the IOC is brutal. Not only...
Oh my god, dude! Every time I think of Thomas Bach, I think of Thomas Cock. Let's be honest. That guy's a piece of shit.
Yeah,
and dude, he's like buddies with Zhang Gaoli, the freaking guy that essayed what's her name? Feng Shui.
Yeah, and that's why he always has to be around to do the interviews with Feng Shui, because it's like
it's
to
insane.
intimidate
The guy
her.
she's like, okay, this guy sexually assaulted essay, so he don't get banned. Zhang Gaoli, and then
Zhang Gaoli's best buddy.
So they said, oh, okay, we're gonna send over someone to talk to you. Thomas Bach, friends with Zhang Gaoli. You can't make this shit up.
No, you can't,
dude.
Anyway, so let's look at some of these clips. all these clips, we've had to modify them because, like I said, they're being banned by the IOC. Look here. See? Not the routine Jüri you hope for, but she's gained a priceless experience representing her nation
That's a pro-China
home
post.
games. Yes, by a verified Twitter account, 70 Olympics. It says this video is not available in your location because they copyright strike that shit. They're like, you can't see Jüri falling. All right?
Jüri has fallen.
Okay, we got to talk about what's going on in the background here. Okay? Oh, let's take that back.
No one has laughed at our Pearl Jam. Maybe our audience is too young.
Yeah, maybe, or to something else. These are a couple of examples of some of the cheating that's been going on. Okay, now the outrageous thing is that you see how this this Chinese speed skater actually
Pause the shit out of this, by the way.
Yeah,
so we don't
I
get
have
claimed.
been.
Okay.
He actually pushed. That's a Korean competitor, right?
I can't remember this clip. It's been so altered, but I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty sure it's a Korean competitor. You can see that's clearly cheating.
Yeah.
Well, the judge didn't think so. The judge was like, nah.
Yeah. Keep us in this, because that's fair use.
Yeah. So the judge was like, nah,
Nah.
no, it's totally okay. And then the Chinese won gold
Right.
in that particular event.
Hold on. Stop it for a second. I'm gonna, because it's now started to show up. I want to see if it gets picked up because it'll tell me.
Yeah, it'll say like, oh, you're showing copywritten material. This, I'm sure everyone's seen this particular clip of, this is also, I believe,
So
speed skating.
apparently you can. So to sum that up, you apparently can just push someone over.
You can,
Yeah. And the excuse was that he was in his lane.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So you could just shove him.
Yeah.
That's part of the Olympic rules.
And apparently what you can do is also take, like they've got these demarcation pucks around the course, so like to stay in your lane or whatever. Well,
Yes.
if you're on the Chinese team, you can just take one of those and you can slide it into someone else's skates
I love how all the.
and cause them to fall down.
Pause the shit out of this.
Yeah, okay. Hey, what happened there?
Jüri has fallen.
See what
Okay.
we've had to do to this footage. If we get nailed, this is going to be ridiculous.
This is zoomed, slowed down to like 30%. I fragmented it and made it look shit.
Took out the color.
I took out the color, added a color filter. We are in it.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Anyway, you can see this puck. If you look at this hand, okay,
Yeah.
just above me. Watch very carefully.
They're claiming that it was unintentional. Watch this.
But it's like a whoop.
It's a push.
She like pushed this little cup, this
and it
puck,
goes into
and
the Canadian skate.
Yeah, and it causes Canada to fall down.
What was
This-
her name? Because we could sing.
I don't know, but anyway, that's cheating. But again, they were let off by like, nah, it's not cheating. It's a bit ridiculous the amount of bias that the judges have had towards the Chinese athletes who have been very blatantly cheating.
Oh my Lord. I mean, the IOC at this point, it's kind of like the WHO, like not all of WHO, the leadership tasked with the coronavirus thing.
Yeah.
They lost so much credit.
Yeah.
And they lost so much prestige because of what happened with, what's his name?
Yeah.
Tedros.
Tedros, yeah.
And sucking up to the Chinese lies,
Yes,
right? Of
yeah.
the whole thing.
And
it's
perpetuating them.
And perpetuating. But we're past that now to where now everyone's looking at the CCP in a very negative light.
Yeah.
And they're looking at this, they're going to look at the IOC and be like, I'm not watching this anymore.
No, the IOC is complicit
Yeah.
in not only censoring on behalf of the Chinese government, but enabling these games and constantly like going for it. You know what's actually bullshit? Is remember the Tokyo Olympics were postponed due to coronavirus.
Yeah.
And they had less, in
Cases.
Japan, had less cases than China has right now.
And those are real numbers, but
Yeah, not fake. That's the thing. And I remember China being like very vocal about like, no, it shouldn't be held in Tokyo because it's such a risk. And they were like,
it was because of them. They were
Yeah.
like, oh, they were a huge part of it. Oh, let's
Yeah.
postpone it.
yeah. And so Japan had to. And then this freaking annoying, I don't know, piece of junk country comes along and with its, when I say country, I mean the government, obviously. Comes along and with its bribery and its bullshit goes to the IOC and everyone's calling to boycott these games around the world. Diplomatic boycotts, there's protests, there's so many reasons not to have it. The zero COVID strategy, now it's really messed up. They've really clamped down. It's crazy. And they're
Thomas Cox,
they're like,
yes,
no,
let's go
the
for it.
games must go on.
Yeah.
Yeah, like definitely. But with the Tokyo thing, they're like, nope.
You know what this meeting was to make all this happen. You got Zhang Gaoli, you got fucking top CCP leadership chilling with Thomas Cox in a dirty KTV.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
You know, and they're drinking baijiu.
They're in
there's
love with the
whores.
baijiu.
This is all in Minecraft, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm just picturing. I can picture this.
Anyway, we know which side the IOC's bread is buttered on, and the fact that they got involved in the whole peng shuai thing as well shows you they would only allow people that they had control over completely to actually interact with peng shuai, and that's what's happened.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, Peng Shuai is retired now.
Oh, is she retired now?
How messed up. I feel like I need to do a final video on that whole
probably do.
conclusion.
Yeah, it's terrible. Anyway, this is Jüri falling.
Jüri has fallen.
Anyway, yeah, which is an awful thing for her. She burst into tears because she.
I feel super bad
Well,
for her.
I mean, she fell during that time. Then she got horribly abused, like absolutely terribly disgusting abuse on the Chinese internet. And then with all that pressure and stress, she went in to do it again, and she fell again. It's obviously due to all the pressure. If she didn't have so much hatred and so much, expectation on her shoulders, she would have been fine. So she fell again and she burst into tears. Who knows what's going to happen to her? I think she probably realizes that she should not have given up her U.S. citizenship.
Right, but again, she was a child when that happened.
Yeah.
She was like 15.
You can't give up your U.S. citizenship.
Well, she naturalized to China then.
You're not allowed. I did a little bit of reading. You have to be 16, I think. There's a certain age limit. You cannot renounce your citizenship.
I know. I know
age.
she naturalized. She chose it. Her parents for her chose her to naturalize. She's like 15 or something.
Right.
Back in like 2018 or something. But her dad was a professor and went back to like some Beijing university.
Yeah, I feel like he did a lot of intellectual property transfer
in Minecraft.
We don't
know that.
Because why would you suddenly everybody get out? We're moving back to China. Quickly, get rid of your citizenship. Here we go. I'm going to go to
Could have been a trade thing.
From a prestigious trade of intellectual property under the table. I'm going to look into that guy.
Like your daughter's wicked good at skating. Come skate for us. Could be a thing.
Yeah. I'm not saying, by the way, that he stole secrets and transferred of technology, but I am saying that that's probably what happened. Seriously.
So you are saying.
I'm saying that there's almost a 99.9% chance that. I'm just saying, but that's speculation.
It is speculation.
It's speculation.
Yeah, that 0.1%.
But
might be it.
It's true. But when you have speculation coming from someone who understands how China works very well, you can take that to the bank.
Right.
In Minecraft.
In the Minecraft bank.
Let's look into this guy. I bet you he was important. It was probably some.
I'm sure they've.
Dude, it was AI.
It was AI.
It was AI. He was in charge of developing AI and stuff. There's no way that wasn't the reason.
You're not making this easy on me. No. Trying to be devil's advocate.
No. Anyway, that's all aside. We feel bad for Jüri. Okay, we feel terrible.
Jüri has fallen.
Yeah. It's a terrible situation. But yeah, all this nonsense that's been going on. The athletes that have been kind of stuck in these isolation situations, like the Russian and the Belgian athlete and so on, the skeleton race that we talked about last time.
Yeah.
This kind of thing was bound to happen, and it's not helping. In fact, this is probably the opposite effect of what the CCP wanted.
Yeah.
When it comes to these Olympics.
I really think it's backfiring big time.
Yeah.
I'll sum it up properly next week, but on Monday actually.
The CCP should also know that no one actually cares about the Winter Olympics anyway. I just gotta say, I don't know. It's just like it just doesn't matter. Second rate when it comes to the Olympics.
It doesn't matter.
I mean,
it kind of sucks.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. Back in the day on DOS games and stuff, we used to have summer games, and then there was winter games. I'm did you ever play winter games?
Dude, I didn't play that shit.
I mean, no dissing the athletes. I mean,
no.
Curling, dude, what a sport. You have to roll that ball and sweep the ice, dude.
The sweeper. I wonder, who gets laid more, the sweeper or the pusher?
I mean, I'm also thinking who gets the credit.
That's what I mean.
You could just push a ball or puck or whatever it is, but it's the person out there sweeping that ice, making sure that it's smooth.
I'll be honest with you, I think it's the other way around, because the person that pushes it needs to know the velocity and perfect trajectory. The sweeper's going to do the same sweep in either way.
You give a good push, but there's little particles on the ice. Doesn't matter. It'll slow that thing down.
You know what time it is? It's time for a poll. Who's more important?
The sweeper
or the pusher?
Or
the sweeper?
I still don't quite get that. It's like bowls. Like my granny used to play. And my grandpa.
I don't know your grandpa. Yeah, no. You mean like that British thing where you roll shit in the
bowls.
lawn?
Yeah, it's see if you get it close to the big one.
Bocce ball, right? Bocce ball.
It's just called bowls.
Oh, here it's called bocce ball.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. I wonder if it's the same thing.
It's like a little ball, and then you have to throw your ball to get closer. It's like a heavy ball. You roll it. Yeah, bocce ball. It's the E.
Oh, let's just see what it is. I don't think it's the same thing, dude.
Oh, it's not? You got to get it close to the little white ball. You roll it in the lawn.
it's a sport belonging to the bowls family. It belongs to the bowls family.
There's a family of bowls?
Yes.
Like bowls, like that you eat out of?
I always thought, but it looks like it's spelled B-O-U-L-S. Ew.
Is it? It says no, B-O-W-L-S.
Okay, let's see. Oh, there's a bowls versus bocce article.
Because I have to make this poll, so read it.
All right. Bocce and lawn bowling are cousins, but have some distinct differences.
Okay.
The bocce ball is round, whereas the lawn ball is round in only one direction and elliptical in the other.
What? That doesn't make sense.
Giving it a bias and causing it to curve.
What?
The bocce ball is thrown underhand like softball, and the lawn ball is rolled. Completely different. So you throw a bocce ball, but you just roll a ball.
Yeah, you can roll one too.
Does that mean you have to on the ground and then you push it, or do you have to?
You mean in bowls?
Yeah, no, but I've seen them play. They actually do like a, like bowling almost.
Can you explain how a ball can be round and elliptical at the same time?
Think about it like this, so it's like more of a there's a point around it.
Like an egg.
Not really like an egg. It'd be like, think of a motorcycle wheel, but then you expand it out like this.
Oh, okay.
So there's like one part of it's higher than the rest.
But how is it? That mean it's round in one direction?
Yeah. And then the other side's like elliptical, so it'll be like.
Oh, okay. So it's uneven.
Something like that.
Rolls flops around. So we got the
learning.
poll.
We're learning.
So
Okay.
most people so far are saying the pusher.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Sweeper's catching up.
I mean, as far as I'm concerned, if you don't keep that ice sparkly, smooth, and clean, you know what I mean?
You know what's funny though?
What?
I'm gonna disagree, but I will say this: I think the sport in the Winter Olympics that gets the most shade or like most made fun of is curling, right?
Yeah.
'Cause as you just perpetuated that stereotype, like, oh, what the fuck's curling? Who
Sure,
cares, right?
sure.
But because of that, I actually think it gets the most press.
It does.
If you talk about Winter Olympics, I mean, no one talks about the skiing part.
I didn't even know what skeleton racing was until last week.
Who gives a shit? But you know what curling is.
Yeah.
And that's the one that everyone makes fun of, but that's the one that everyone talks about.
And after Cool Runnings, bobsled.
And bobsled, yeah.
Yeah, John Candy. I think that was his last movie. Yeah. Great movie. I enjoyed it.
I'll let this get to 1,000 votes, and then we'll come back to it.
Okay, cool. So
So Trin says, biggest kitty you've seen? That's not generally a compliment.
Sorry.
Reed Air says, Jonty, how do I make shredded cheese?
What?
Jonty, how do I make shredded cheese?
What? Great. Yes.
Great.
How do I make shredded cheese? Great.
Let me do it. Let's do that fluidly.
Okay.
Hey, Jonty, how do I make shredded cheese?
Great.
Okay.
That was brilliant.
That was great. That was a good one.
That was better than just say, can you please play this sound for me?
Yeah,
Like,
that
you
was-
built it into a sentence.
That
and a
was
question.
fantastic. Yeah.
Perfect. Jerry Huang, friend of the show.
Yep.
Ghoulie sisters deleted all their YouTube videos. Wow.
Let me take a look.
Yeah, let's double check. We believe you, Jerry. He's done the really good, solid research on them and actually made some videos. So go to his channel and subscribe. But their community posts still remain. Thoughts on this occurrence? Well, Jerry, I think you would know just as well. Yeah.
All the content's gone.
Both you, Jerry, and us have single-handedly, triple-handedly kind of destroyed the propaganda campaign for the Ghoulie sisters.
But that was their fault. You know what? They started to put adverts on our videos. And that's
so
how we knew about them.
We reached out to Uyghur people and said, can you tell us some stories about what horrible things are happening in Xinjiang?
Mm-hmm.
Got their stories, did interviews and stuff, and they targeted those videos, the Chinese government did, with these girls and said that there is no genocide and saying that we're lying on ads in our videos. So technically they're paying us, but at this, second-handedly. But at the same time, I called them out. I said, don't you dare post genocide denial ads, and they lost it.
Yeah.
Well, they were told to lose it. They're like making these smear videos about us and all this kind of stuff, and it really backfired because what it did is cause us and people like Jerry to really dig down deep and look into what and who they were, Turns out it was a huge government campaign, and we caught them red-handed, admitting that it was propaganda.
And guess what? Your ponytail wasn't that great after all.
Yeah, it's your ponytail's unemployed now. I hope you like. Honestly, I don't mean to be a dick, but I don't think you don't have to guard yourself around this. It was a CCP employee that's promoting genocide denial at the expense of millions of Uyghur people.
Yes.
So
and pretending to be a Uyghur.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you have to go back and be an English teacher again. Yeah, because that's what you were before.
Yeah. Cool.
So, yeah.
Right. What do we got next?
Just quick. Jake Wooten, on a scale of Chinese people to bears, how cool is Cardi C? I'm going to have to say Cardi C is not even on the scale.
Yeah.
Dude,
like,
not bears.
honestly, it surprised me how, because we just always used to make fun of her as the cotton girl. And it just surprised me how connected she actually is and how high up she is in the whole propaganda machine. To be on the freaking New Year's gala, it still blows my mind.
Massive.
Because she's so unprofessional.
I know if you don't, I don't hate when people are like, you just don't know. But
she
you
could
don't know how big
she could
this
literally,
is.
when you've got the State of the Nation Union or State of the Union, what do you call that thing
State
here?
Union address.
She was in that.
That's a good analogy.
Yeah, she was in that.
She was in the State of a Union address.
That's right.
Yes, because you know Xi Jinping makes the State of the Union during the New Year's Gala. She was in that.
Yeah.
That's insanity to me.
Yeah, she was. The cotton, bounce. That one was
Botox bounce.
in the State of the Union
you
address.
could bounce something off her face at this point.
True.
Case closed. All because of the Botox, by the way. Don't bounce anything off.
No, please.
Her tiger should be made of paper to be accurate. I've got the strength of a tiger, paper of a tiger.
Yeah, that's a great one.
I'm a who?
Yes.
Sugar Mama says it's like watching the Xmas Queen speech in UK. I don't know.
Oh, the
Queen's.
Christmas.
Yeah,
Christmas speech.
That's
the Queen with her corgis or what have you.
Cavaliotis Ionis, thank you very much. Cairo says you need to bike up to the pagoda in Reading, Pennsylvania. Beautiful mountain ride, not in the winter.
Yeah, we'll wait. Thanks.
Yeah. Count Bifford, will the Chinese government encourage old people to commit suicide?
No,
they won't.
I don't think so.
I mean, never put anything past them. Probably
I doubt it.
Lightseeker, he's making it more sparse. He says P-O-Yo.
You know who he's referencing, right? He's referencing, good old Dr. Ballsack, who we cannot forget is one of the people that helped the CCP cover up the spread of the coronavirus, okay, and muddied the waters with his bullshit scientific papers that he coerced a bunch of people to write just to protect his Baijiu KTV mates. Anyway, let's continue.
Blazing Whirlwind says she needs some Neko Mimi, which is like cat girl, right? So I'm going to end the poll. What is more important in curling? We had an Olympic-themed poll today. And Pusher won by the 52%.
Yes, it's close. It's close. It's tough to know. Hard to say. That's our country. Yeah.
Why is that not a soundbite?
Yeah, it's good. We're gonna make it.
Because anytime you say hard to say, you could say that's our country.
Yeah.
If you guys don't remember, it's from that knockoff of Wolf Warrior.
No, it was actually from Wolf Warrior.
Oh no, that's from Wolf Warrior. The guy, the shop owner. The black guys, the African dudes, are like, hey, can we get refuge in like the Chinese embassy?
Well, let's go to the embassy. What about us? Will they take us in? Hard to say. That is our country.
Yeah, but it's like a point of pride.
Yeah, it's a point of pride. They're like, screw you guys.
He's like, screw you. Like, it's really hard to say because that's our country.
Meanwhile, these guys have like really just helped
them out.
Yeah, sacrificed their whole lives and store
the Africans. They helped rescue
ridiculous.
the Chinese people. Anyway, great scene.
Yeah.
Filthy Casual Play, thank you very much. Jeb Duncans. Who is better at propaganda? Cardi C or Brother Howe? Brother Howe is old school lore. That is some old stuff. I love Brother Howe. He was hilarious. He used to sing communist songs. I think it was satire, but let me end this poll.
Yeah.
A couple more here. Cavatolis Ionis. This is Horrified Genocide Panda. Sarah Vagella says, my surname Vagella means tiger, and Cardi C just made me embarrassed to be a who. I'm sorry, Sarah.
Yeah, don't worry. You're not.
I'm also embarrassed to be a who.
Oh, you're tiger.
I'm a tiger, yeah.
Oh, tiger year.
I'm a who.
So Cardi C is your age then?
She must be. She must be 35.
Yeah, because otherwise it'd be a 12-year difference, and she's not 12 years younger or older than you.
Okay, let's think about this. So I'm 35.
Right.
So she
looks about 35.
So yeah, but if she was, I think so. Yeah. But if she was the next round lower, then she would be 23. She's not 23.
I don't think so, unless I don't know.
She's lying. I'm a who. No, they wouldn't pick that.
No, definitely. So if Yeah, I don't think she's 23, dude. Unless
No.
she had some accident.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you don't get Botox at 23, do you?
No. Yeah. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
Sorry.
Let's move
Don't
on.
make me make a poll about how old you think Cardi C is. Cardi
Yeah.
C is definitely in her 30s.
Yeah, she looks. You know, it's tough to tell if you don't know Asians very well.
I mean, we do though.
No, I'm just saying for
yeah.
the average person because they look a lot younger. You know, my wife who's
like we look older than the average Asian person our age.
my wife gets asked for her ID when she
Yeah.
buys
Same
alcohol
with mine,
all
yeah.
the time, which
Yeah.
is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Well,
let's-
somebody said I could pass for 27. That's very nice of you. Thank you.
yeah.
Okay, let's keep going.
Yeah, we're gonna hit Wu Mao corner right now. Okay, so let's get ourselves out of here because it's a different kind of Wu Mao.
Let me be a woman, 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 woman.
Yes, we even got a theme song from
So-
Doja Cat.
Yeah, Wu Mao corner is all about the haters and the nonsense that goes on with the Chinese 50 Cent army. And well, we got some cool stuff for you here. Why don't you start this out?
I got banned from TikTok.
Yes, you got banned from TikTok. Why?
They won't tell me.
Okay.
Community violations. Now, just to be fair, I've never posted anything other than clips from my YouTube videos.
Yes.
Right. So, the community guidelines, unless they're vastly different, I didn't post anything offensive.
No.
I've been banned, and so that either means one of two things. Number one, mass flagging
Yeah.
from Wu Mao accounts.
Of course
as we're
it's
talking
that,
about right
yeah.
now, are effective on there, whereas on YouTube they're not.
I mean, they are, but not that much.
Much less,
Yeah, less
right.
effective.
Or ByteDance is lying, and they are allowing Chinese government policy to affect their American operations, which they've said in press statements that they have not.
They definitely are.
Yes. Okay. So I will err on that, but I gave them a chance.
Yeah.
I reached out to their press release team
Mm-hmm.
and I asked for a official reason why I was banned and why my For You page is allowed to be hit with thousands and thousands of genocide denial accounts
Yes.
and pro CCP propaganda accounts when I was banned for freedom of speech in my own country.
Yeah, what you were doing was actually much less. It's
Oh,
much
yeah.
less than what they were doing.
Oh,
like
yeah.
the kind of vitriol and the nonsense that you
I
see.
didn't go after anyone.
That's pro CCP
Yeah.
on TikTok is crazy. But
But mine is satire. It was
Yeah.
like fake movie parody stuff. You know,
Yeah, yeah,
clips
yeah.
from my channels.
yeah.
From my channel. So
Anyway,
we'll
this is
find
going
out.
to be a good follow-up.
Yeah.
Maybe we can actually have some definitive proof that TikTok is actually just beholden to the Chinese government.
Well, this is going to be a long-term thing, but remember, I've been compiling this for almost a year
Yeah.
now, trying to
Yeah.
figure this out, and now I finally have I'm in the last phases of this video expose that I'll be doing.
Yeah, it's good. That's
So,
kind of his terceur, his specialty. You know, we'll be getting.
Oh yeah,
to...
so the meme. Let me just explain that actually.
Oh, the meme. Yeah. Well,
Just because there's people that are listening. So there's the meme, the famous meme of the dude that has two buttons and he's sweating.
yeah.
And it says, ban C Milk from TikTok because he keeps pointing out the CCP's human rights abuses, or don't ban C Milk because then people will realize that TikTok is just propaganda platform for the CCP.
Yeah, it's a tough choice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very tough choice. Okay, now one of our favorite wolf warriors, Chen Weihua, okay, Chinese state-affiliated media,
Wow.
just tweeted at the Holocaust Museum to say, shame on the Holocaust Museum.
I mean, okay, before you freak out for us being
Yeah.
like classless here, we are laughing at the sheer idiocy
Absurdity,
and
yeah.
absurdity
Yeah.
of the Chinese government's wolf warrior. I mean, this guy is a state employee.
Yes.
Who? I mean, you wake up one day and you're like, I wonder what the CCP is going to do now. Do you expect them to tweet at the Holocaust Museum
And say, shame on the Holocaust Museum. Dude.
what the hell?
Dude, the fucking mask, am I right?
Yes,
this
he's the
guy.
fucking mask,
Yeah,
yeah.
this guy always puts his foot in his mouth, but I think he's going to realize real soon that this is not a battle you want to fight.
No. I
This
mean,
is-
you're literally going after the genocide of 6 million Jewish people, and then
Yeah.
you're yelling at the museum that honors their deaths.
Now, the reason he did this is because they did a post about, like, as athletes compete at the Olympics in Beijing, the Chinese government is holding Uyghurs in detention centers and prisons thousands of miles away in Xinjiang. This Olympics, what is at stake is not medals, but the world's commitment to never again.
And
They-
I absolutely endorse that message.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, this is the Holocaust Museum. They have a very specific goal, and that is to remind people that the Holocaust existed so that it doesn't happen again. That's their whole point. You know, sometimes history gets swept under the rug. If not
Yeah.
enough, if people aren't reminded of it, it repeats itself. That's what they do. What does the Chinese state-affiliated media do? Shame on the Holocaust Museum. Who has ever said that?
Well, Chen Weihua.
Yeah.
How does this get the green light? Because they have to have minders, right?
Well,
how does this get? Well, he might be so high up it doesn't even matter.
Yeah,
at this
exactly.
point.
I don't know. I just feel like if you're gonna pick a fight with someone, you don't pick a fight with the Holocaust Museum.
Because not only you're offending everyone,
You're offending the entire Jewish community.
and everyone that supports that.
You're
Like humans.
offending all the victims of Pol Pot.
Yeah.
And like all these terrible the Rwandan genocides and anyone who's had to suffer the inhumanity of a Holocaust
Or a genocide.
you are now basically kicking dirt in their eye.
Yeah.
Anyway, here is why I think that it's time for the world to stop giving the CCP the benefit of the doubt and stop treating them graciously. Because the CCP is always being dealt with diplomatically and given the benefit of the doubt by foreign diplomats. We do not see foreign diplomats and people that are linked directly to the state attacking China the way that China attacks them.
No.
Not in such a base way. They will call out China all the time, but they don't do this kind of petty wolf warrior bullshit. And they would throw an absolute conniption fit if it was that way around.
I agree with you. I also think that, when you have people like this representing the state, I think it makes it quite clear that when people are making, people like to throw around the word Nazi a lot, right?
Yeah.
It's not a baseless accusation when you're talking about the Chinese government just because of how they're behaving currently.
Sure.
And these kind of actions, this is immortalized. This isn't speculation. They had the Chinese states out there on Twitter literally making statements like this.
Yeah.
It just really proves.
This represents the Chinese government.
It keeps proving the point.
Yeah. This guy is Chinese government. This represents what the Chinese government wants to say.
Shame on the Holocaust Museum.
Shame on the Holocaust Museum.
Not the Holocaust.
But the museum. Does he even know what that is?
It's just, I'm baffled. I'm just baffled. But anyway, let's keep
Let's
going.
hope that he's raised the ire of the right sort of people. And go, tell him a thing or two about the Holocaust and that it should not be happening and that what the CCP is doing in Xinjiang is actually wrong.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's...
Maybe he can hang out with Whoopi Goldberg.
Anyway, maybe he should get fired or whatever, Anyway, here's the thing.
Certainly.
This is like level 999 stupidity, you know what I mean?
I think you missed the 9.
Oh yeah, 99999 stupidity. Anyway, so that's Wu Mao, and it doesn't get more Wu Mao than Chen Weihua.
Yeah.
Piece of junk. What a turd.
Wow.
What a turd that guy.
Wow.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's we're going to move on. Actually, this is still Wu Mao corner, isn't it?
It is.
This is kind of just okay. We have to explain Chengguan to you.
Yes.
In China, you've got this despicable group of people they call Chengguan, urban management. Okay, now they're not always at fault because, let's be honest, living in China, you know how it is. Street vendors are really annoying and pushy.
Yeah.
Okay, they get told you're not allowed to be here on this street because this is a tourist walking street or whatever, or like a busy street. Not allowed to set up your little cart and sell your junk on the street.
I like the food stalls.
I love them, but they get told you're not allowed to do this. Then they do it, and then they say no, really, you're not allowed to do it. And they're like, okay,
Remember,
we're
there's
going
no
away.
law in China.
Yeah, there's no law. So they go away around the corner, and as soon as the cop or whatever walks away, they just roll it back out and they continue. And so then the urban management comes in, and they're just brutal. They'll destroy the person's cart. They'll take away all their goods. They don't give a shit, right? They just destroy
Urban
it.
management is like all the privileges of police brutality, but with none of the prestige.
Yes. So anyway, what's happening here is you've got a toy seller selling balloons and toys and stuff.
Yeah.
And
they're not really taking up too much space.
No, but you can see that their toys and stuff are being taken, okay, by the cops or by the urban management. But here's the despicable part, is members of the public see this as an opportunity to steal the toys, okay? This is the worst part. See, so there she's they're trying to take her balloons and they're hassling her. So here comes this IE, disgusting IE, comes in there.
Are you playing this backwards?
I'm playing it backwards to show how nice the Chinese citizens here are by giving the person, everything back.
Yeah. See? They gave it all back.
They gave it all back.
Are you doing that?
No, you just got it wrong.
That's I took that off a parody thing.
Yeah, it's a
because
parody
it was
thing.
the caption. It was from a Chinese thing.
Basically, okay.
It was like, look how nice
what's
people
happening is, you've got these aunties here. Hey, kid, look. While they're busy hassling her, let's quickly go steal some toys.
Yeah.
And gives the toys to the kids, and another parent or grandparent or whatever grab toys and run. See, they're running away with toys. Oh, quickly, let's grab another one. Let's loot. Here, I got two toy swords. Oh yeah, well, I'm gonna go grab that toy airplane and run away. It's disgusting.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But actually, they were just giving them back.
Yeah, we played it in reverse to try and make people look bad. But yeah, urban management suck, and so do those horrible bystanders who decided to take advantage of the situation, just steal the toys.
It's just a bad situation.
It's bad all around.
It's a good little glimpse because you see Chongguan everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, so
everyone hates Chongguan.
They do. They absolutely hate Chongguan.
They're like this. If you're a Chongguan in China, you're probably actually lower than like a street sweeper in terms of the totem pole for people's respect.
Yes.
If you said you're a Chongguan, people would be like, "Get out of my face."
Yeah.
You scum.
Yeah, that's right. All right, let's do a couple super chats. We're going to move into world news.
Sure. Philip says, heard that one of the Olympic skiing events was being held in a parking lot of a nuclear power plant. Looked it up. Turns out the skiing ramp is right beside the cooling pond and tower. Yep, we covered that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, this is...
KT on.
Yeah. We did that in this show. You
Yes.
can look back, rewind a bit.
Yeah, how to topple Winnie the Pooh. Arrange global leaders conference and don't invite China. Wolf wankers throw tantrum. Say China can join only if Pooh comes personally. See if Pooh leaves China.
He doesn't, eh? It's just he hasn't left China for how long now?
That's a very good reason.
Yeah.
A long time.
Yeah.
Lan Du.
Yeah, because if he left China, they'd overtake his position. He'd get kicked out in a minute.
Yeah. Mr. Incognito 007. Thoughts on China invading Taiwan after Russia takes a piece of Ukraine? Many countries are telling that citizens to leave. So there's no obligation for the U.S. because Ukraine's not in NATO, right?
Yeah.
There's no obligation. The difference is that there's a treaty with Taiwan, right?
Yeah.
So there is obligation for the U.S. to back
Absolutely.
Taiwan. It's also more strategically important. I'm talking about this like not from a human rights perspective,
Of course, no.
but in terms of like intervention and stuff, you'll probably see a lot more intervention with something like Taiwan because the Asia theater is much more important for strategic shipping routes and things like that.
Yeah.
And Japan would get involved.
Yep.
I also of course, I also don't think that that's going to happen, by the way.
Yeah.
Philip, learned that the runner-up for this current Olympics was Kazakhstan, another authoritarian regime. Yeah, not as bad as China, but still very much so.
Yeah, look, the IOC is just corrupted. It's an awful...
Oh, yeah, because, I mean, it's a corrupt organization that's allowed to be bought out by other corrupt organizations, so what do you expect?
Yeah.
They don't want democracy.
No.
Right? Miss Soy Sauce says, who are they going to get to beat Cardi C? Everybody.
Yeah.
Son of a... Oh, we'll move on.
Yeah, let's move on.
Catch up.
Okay, we're going to go on to Worldview now. We talked a little bit about the TikTok thing, which is C-Milk's wheelhouse. This next thing is really my wheelhouse, and that has to do with racism.
Yes.
Because being a South African, racism is kind of part of my identity, whether I like it or not. You know, grew up around that stuff, grew up around the whole, like, transition from apartheid, you know. Say if South African and people immediately in their mind, they're like, oh, he must be racist, you know. So I'm very good and well versed in the whole racism thing. And now I got a story for you guys, and it's just awful. So let's take a look here. There's a dissident artist who lives in Australia. His name is Badiou Cao, and you've probably heard of him if you've been a fan of the channel. We've showed some of his works before. We've showed some of his interviews before. And he created these posters, which he very generously released as free for anyone who wants to download and print and put up around, their college campus or whatever they want to do. If you want, you can print one and put it up in your living room if you like. But people are worried about this chair stain. What is that? Ugh. I'll speak to C-Milk. Maybe that's... why did I touch that? Anyway, let's continue. What the... Hang on a second. That's distracting. There we go. So anyway, what's going on here is Badiou Cao has allowed people to download and print these. So some Chinese students got a hold of him. I believe this is I can stand corrected here, but I'm pretty sure some Chinese students got a hold of him in the George Washington University, which is a big university here in America. And they put up some of these posters around campus. Okay. Now, of course, if you know what these posters are about, they are really there to criticize the CCP, the Communist Party of China, and their treatment of the Uyghurs in Hong Kong and various things, you know, the surveillance state, if you look at the posters. Here's the thing. This is a tweet from Badiao himself, and he went on to say, hey, the George Washington University Chinese Students and Scholars Association is launching a witch hunt to the student activists putting up my boycott posters on campus. By the way, everyone wants to know what this gross stain on your chair is.
I actually don't know. I think I was under my car, and it was on my... You know when you go into your car and you get, like, oil?
Yeah.
And then I leaned back on my chair.
Oh,
What else
yeah.
would it be?
I don't
It's
know.
the wrong color to try to be
No,
getting
it's
dirty
like
here, guys.
greasy sweat or something. Anyway.
No.
Here's the thing.
Sorry, I was being pea milk.
Okay, P-Milk running away. A classic smear campaign to cancel criticism against the CCP. So what happened here? Everybody, I want you to know, and please, you've heard it here first. Well, you've heard it here a number of times. The Chinese Students and Scholars Association, if you ever see that anywhere, that is literally just an arm of the Communist Party of China in your school, in your university. They have ties directly to the embassies, they have ties directly to the Chinese government, and their whole purpose is to masquerade as some kind of like a students' organization. And you often also see the Chinese Cultural Association, anything like that. It's got nothing to do with culture other than the culture of censorship and, snitching and that kind of thing. That's what they're there for. They're there to keep Chinese students that are overseas in line. They're there to make sure that the universities don't do anything that goes against the CCP's word, okay? They're awful. So let's take a look at how this all started. Let's see. We'll get to the translation. But this, which is officially from the George Washington University Chinese Students and Scholars Association. Remember that. Chinese Students and Scholars Association. That's the groups that you have to watch out for. It's kind of like having the KGB in your school, all right? Or maybe overseas, the CIA. It's kind of like, South Africa Wits University CIA Association. That's literally what it is. They put out this statement, okay? Here's the English one, which I'm going to read out for you. On February 3rd, 2022, that is yesterday, posters that insulted China and discriminated against Asians appeared in many teaching buildings on the GW campus. This series of posters has serious racist views. Now, before we even continue, would you say those are racist posters?
No.
Okay.
How would they be racist?
Yeah.
It's so it's racist to make a political statement on the genocide of Uyghurs?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Because it's how is that racist?
It's not.
It's not. Actually, Badiao has some good things to say about that. Let me just finish reading this. So, these posters have serious racist views, and to a large extent has carried out extremely vicious personal attacks on all international students from China and Asian groups. Okay? How is a political statement against the Beijing 2022 Olympics affected Asian students? You know? You think some Filipino guy there is going to be like, oh no, Uyghur genocide, I better watch out. You know what I mean? What the hell? Okay. Let's see. China and Asian groups. During the opening of the Winter Olympics, these posters expressed not only trampling on the Olympic spirit, but also a naked attack on the Chinese nation. Here, in the George Washington University Chinese Students and Scholars Association, joined a group of student organizations to compile a joint letter and collect signatures. A signed joint letter will be sent to school leadership on Monday. A single spark can start a prairie fire. Please click the link below to sign the joint letter. We believe that with your help, the students or organizations involved will make a public apology and the school must punish them severely. Look at the wording of this.
This reads just like one of those blue background Communist Party of China notices that they send out.
Yeah.
Like for when they're trying to catch criminals and stuff.
Punishments, punish them severely, insulted China, serious racist views,
Yep.
attacks the Chinese nation. So now the head of the university, his name's Mark Wrighton, more like Mark Wrongton, if you ask me. All right. So, sorry, said, please know that I am personally offended by the posters. I treasure the opportunity to work with talented people from all over the world, including China. Your reaching out to me directly is much appreciated, and we are working to have all these offensive posters removed as soon as possible. I too am saddened by this terrible event, and we will undertake an effort to determine who is responsible. So, okay, this is the typical look. It's sent to whoever it was sent. By the way, this email was published by the Chinese Students and Scholars Association as a victory.
Yeah.
On their on their forums and
for
stuff.
For them, it was.
I like how it was sent to this person, this student, obviously, who complained, or the Chinese Students and Scholars Association. Also sent to Diverse, which is obviously the diversity. What do you call that? Diversity department of the university, and various other people. These Chinese and Students and Scholars Association did a complete letter writing campaign to bombard every single part of the university that might get them a response, including the head guy. And he's like, I'm personally offended by these posters. And the worst part is I am saddened by this, and I will put an effort to determine who's responsible. In other words, I'm going to go find out who did this and punish them.
Yeah.
And why? Because a bunch of people cried racist. But guess what? The person who drew those posters is Chinese. Okay, number one. And number two, as Badiou Cao himself said over here, the collection posted at the university includes 5 posters depicting the CCP's number 1, oppression of the Tibetans. Number 2, Uyghur genocide. Number 3, the dismantling of the Hong Kong democracy. Number 4, the regime's omnipresent surveillance systems. Number 5, lack of transparency surrounding the COVID-19 pandemic. All right? It's not racist. It's literally talking about the Chinese government. Not Chinese people, the Chinese government, the CCP.
Yeah, the Chinese people didn't do any of those things. He just listed or depicted in the posters.
See, he himself said, this is Badiou Cao, the Chinese dissident and artist, it is misleading and ignorant to call my art anti-China or racist, given the fact that I am a Chinese artist. The smear campaign from the CCP-affiliated groups like this directly harms freedom of speech in the University of George Washington, and the University of George Washington must protest and defend rights of its students to voice out for human rights. Okay? Which is a good thing. Now it continues. All 5 posters designed are free for downloading to protest CCP's genocide. Please share and advocate, etc., etc. So he said, please share and advocate and protect those brave student activists who put my art on the campus of George Washington University. They are facing threats like doxing and physical harm from the CCP.
So I want people to know that when these organizations like Confucius Institutes or this one that you just read, a lot of times it's the actual Chinese embassy that organizes them to do this.
Yeah.
So you have a foreign state actor getting the Communist Party of China getting people to go and do their dirty work, to go and harass and dox and harm people in the university on the behalf of a foreign state.
Yes.
They do this. You understand this? The embassy, the Chinese embassy gets people to do this.
Yes.
It's so wrong. Can you imagine the
yeah.
American embassy trying to start some dissent in China?
Yeah, it'd be terrible to punish some Chinese students or
like that would
for
ever
saying
happen.
that. Yeah, here's the thing though. Look, the smear campaign by the Chinese Students and Scholars Association was also launched from WeChat. Now you got to understand. Now they're bringing in the entire Chinese nation. So not only do they, this should be a domestic, this should be an internal thing where they approach the bodies on campus to say, hey, look, we don't like these posters, we want them taken down. But no, they launched it on WeChat and spread it throughout the Chinese nation to get them all pissed off about it in order to pressure and send more pressure from China. Okay? Not only that, to potentially cause harm to the students' families within China.
That's correct.
That's the whole point. If they can rouse this up and make it a huge thing in China, maybe the parents who have their children in that university, they'll be like, oh, my son or my daughter is in that university. I wonder if it's one of them. You know, get them all worried and contact their children and say, look, what's going on, or something like that. See, it's a big campaign to pressurize and to intimidate and to silence anyone who goes against the CCP. All right, so just evidence that it was posted on WeChat. So in other words, it's now broken out of a local little email chain or a little thing. It's everywhere.
I like the I that they use.
Yeah.
Like, we see you.
Yeah, we see you, exactly. I, the artist of all 5 posters, want to propose to the George Washington University and the George Washington University China Students and Scholars Association to have an open debate on the campus on the topic. If my art is racism or legitimate criticism against the CCP. Now remember, up until this point, the leader of the university, the head of the university, has said that these posters are personally offensive and I will get to the bottom of this and I'll take care of it. You know why? Because the freaking Chinese Student and Scholars Association just said, racist. Oh my God, these are racist. Oh no, they insult the Chinese nation. And this guy's like, oh shit, like, oh, I better watch out. You know, don't need that on it. We don't need that kind of thing around here. I'll just capitulate. Yes, they're racist. We'll get them taken down. Don't you worry. Rather than be like, wait a second.
What is this?
Yeah, what are these things? And is it actually racist? Because it's totally not.
No.
Okay, anyway, so it moves on. The CCP is always trying to confuse and mix the notion among country, people, and government in order to cancel any criticism as anti-China or racism. This has been the strategy since the very beginning of its ruling, even reflecting in its national flag design. Okay, and this is why they're so successful. If you criticize the Chinese government, how is that a criticism of a Chinese person?
It's not. This is a tactic they've been using against us as well.
Yeah.
And the thing is, they try to do this against people like Ba Diao, and it just backfires because he's ethnically Chinese.
Yeah.
People like us, it's even easier to target. You'll see the pro-CCP shills that work on behalf of the Chinese government, the Western people.
Yeah.
We're not talking about Chinese people, we're talking about Western people that work for the Chinese government.
Yes.
Because they actually do that. It's kind of like how people worked for the Nazi Party.
Yeah.
Remember those guys?
Yeah.
They actually did
Lord
propaganda.
Ho-Ho.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
did propaganda for the Germans.
Yes.
Same thing. So they'll go and do smear campaigns calling us racist because we criticize the Chinese government and we stand up for human rights in China. The hypocrisy is very rich.
Sure.
But at the same time, it's also effective on weak people.
Yes.
And this, I hate to say this about this Mark guy. He's weak.
Yeah.
He's a weak person.
Yeah.
Or horrifically lazy.
Yes.
Or I should say he was weak in that moment because at least
Yeah.
he sorted it out.
Yeah, we're going to get to that.
Yeah.
So you see, Ba Diao then continues. Design of the Chinese flag does nothing to reflect China's history, culture, or people, but a pure politicized propaganda to enforce the CCP's dominance. The big star stands for the CCP. The 4 little stars, different classes, meaning all people just follow the CCP. That's why my flag in my art represents the CCP instead of Chinese people. Okay? Which is very straightforward. This is, honestly, it's a national flag, okay, of the CCP. There, that's it. It's not the Chinese people. Right, so next. Chinese Cultural Association from the George Washington University uses WeChat to launch a new witch hunt against my Beijing 2022 protest art. It claims the George Washington's new president said he is personally offended by my art. I kindly asked Mr. Wrighton why my art criticizing the CCP should offend him. Now, this is obviously before he made a retraction, and he did make a retraction because I don't know who, but somebody went and told him, hey, listen, you're calling these posters racist and so on, but this person that made these posters is Chinese.
Because what you do at that point, if you're Mark Wright, I want to say I shouldn't call him weak because maybe he just didn't know what the hell was going on at the moment. And I respect what he did in the end. But the problem I have with this is that if you're just so quick to jump and say something's racist without looking into what race it came from,
yes,
that makes you kind of culpable in the scenario.
Well,
because it also means you've fallen prey to a foreign government.
Yes.
You allowed a foreign government to dictate what you do in your university policy.
Yeah.
It's wrong.
It's totally wrong.
It's a foreign state actor.
If he took a look at the posters themselves, he would see, oh, what's going on? The skater is cutting up the Hong Kong flag. How's that racist? Okay, Hong Kong people are Asian.
Yeah.
Okay, it doesn't make
That's
all
not
the
race.
But you saw how they worded the letter, that it intimidates and makes all Chinese students and all Asian students feel intimidated and insulted and stuff. How can the Chinese Students Association speak on behalf of
You know
other
who's
Asians?
probably really offended by this are all those Hong Kong students there. Oh, wait a second. The vast majority of Hong Kong students supported the democracy protests.
Yes.
Oh, you know who might be offended is all those Asian Uyghur people. Wait a second. No, the vast majority of Uyghurs are against the occupation of Uyghur territory and the genocide camps. Oh, what else? Maybe the Tibetan.
Yeah.
I bet that Tibetan group of people are very pro-CCP.
Yeah.
You see,
I in nowhere in these pictures do I see a white guy attacking an Asian person or a black guy attacking an Asian person or any other race attacking. It's Asian, Chinese. It's not even Asian. It's just the Chinese government, the CCP, attacking Chinese people and other people. Okay? So anyway, he said, in this letter from the Chinese, the whatever association, calls my art about the CCP crimes against Tibetans, Hong Kongers, and Uyghurs are controversial and violent. But why does the CCA not denounce CCP's Uyghur genocide as racist and hateful, but call my art depicting this human rights disaster as too violent? You know?
The hypocrisy. I mean,
yeah.
it's so clear, though. No one's offended. This is operating on behalf of a government to run defense in a foreign state.
Yeah. No one's
offended.
No. Just the stupid students and Chinese Students and Scholars Association.
Which is the Confucius Institute.
Yes. Or the whatever they call themselves.
You know what I mean.
Yeah, it's just the Chinese government.
Cultural
Yeah.
Association.
They call
whatever.
themselves all different names,
Yeah.
but it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Again, CCA tried to pin my art with a Chinese virus accusation, but my art is explicitly targeting the CCP. Yes, I would call it the CCP virus. That's because the 5-star flag never represents China's culture, people, or history, but CCP's dominance.
That's correct. The main star of the Chinese flag is the government.
Yes.
That is not hearsay.
So we were speaking about curling, right?
Yeah.
So here's this curling picture
Nice.
where the Communist Party of China's representative is pushing the COVID virus.
Yeah, pushing it. I would read this as pushing away the blame of the COVID virus.
Well, I mean, his
too.
whole thing was because due to the lack of transparency of
Yeah.
the CCP
Yeah.
surrounding the coronavirus is
Sure.
why he made this poster. Okay. So, we see how this is going, right? And by the way, China's national CCTV was spotted on the George Washington University campus.
Imagine if
and they interviewed students about his protesting posters. If confirmed, it will be concerning development. It was confirmed. They were asked if they were CCTV, and they said that they were doing a report on behalf of the CCTV.
So why can't I go do a report in China?
Yeah.
Can I? We do journalistic pieces.
How about CNN going to a Chinese university? Because that's what it is.
How about any mass media, or honestly, even us? I'm saying someone as lowly as us. We can't go onto a Chinese campus and interview people.
No.
Neither can any mainstream media.
No.
So how is this allowed? Like, I'm not saying to ban them, by the way.
Yeah.
But I'm saying the hypocrisy is so rich.
Yeah.
It's insane. They don't realize that they get to use these American privileges
Yes.
in journalism, and they don't get harassed.
No, they don't get harassed. They don't get shut down. They don't get.
But they work on behalf of the
detained.
government that goes to harass people.
Yes.
And their job is to signal boost the story so that people get hurt.
Yeah, that's correct. So, I mean, it doesn't end there, of course. The Global Times
Chinese state media in English.
reported on this too, saying freedom of speech as the last refuge of racist hater. The George Washington University Asylum for Racism reflects double standards of U.S. society. We actually have to get back to this article because we first have to see what the retraction was. Okay,
Yeah.
what the guy actually said. All right, I have to bring it up here. It's too small up there
Sure.
for me to read. And for those of you,
And
who think,
props to him for doing
yeah.
this.
So
From
Mark
Mark.
S. Wrighton, or
He righted his wrong.
yeah, he was previously Wrongton.
Yeah.
Okay, says,
He's now
dear members of the George Washington University community. Last week, the university learned of posters on campus depicting images that alarmed some members of our community, and we began to receive a number of concerns through official university reporting channels that cited bias and racism against the Chinese community. I also received an email directly from a student who expressed concerns. So you see how it works. They do this scattershot approach. It's kind of like what they did with our wives, where they approached their bosses and the Public Security Bureau and everybody, right? So they went through the official channels using the Scholars and Students Association. They probably went through the diversity. They did, because it's there. They went through the diversity department of the university to cry racism, because they know that that's a sure thing. You go to the diversity department and you're like, oh, there's racism. Diversity department's like, finally, we get to do something we're paid to do here. It's like, yes, we prove ourselves. We get to prove our budget's actually there for a reason.
But then they end up wronged here.
They end up wronged anyway. So, they approached everyone, and the student, that person obviously got the reply, sent an email too, etc. So, at that time, and without more context on the origin or intent of the posters, I responded hastily to the student, writing that I too was concerned. University staff also responded to ensure the posters were removed. These responses were mistakes. Every member of the George Washington community should feel welcome and supported, but I should have taken more time to understand the entire situation before commenting. I have since learned from our university scholars that the posters were designed by a Chinese-Australian artist, Badiu Cao, and they are a critique of China's policies. Upon full understanding, I do not view these posters as racist. They are political statements. Okay? Only because he's been told, hey, actually, the guy who made them is Chinese.
No, but actually, I do want to apologize for saying that he was weak, because this statement is correct. It's not just saying like, oh, we're letting the posters back up. He's saying I rushed to conclusions.
Well, I mean, I think
that's admirable.
But this is the only route he could take.
Yeah, but that's admirable to do that.
It's good
no,
that he did it.
you could put out a bullshit letter so you could appease the Chinese still and be like, hey, well, it's actually against the rules that I took them down. Yeah. But he said, no, listen, I didn't understand.
Yeah, which is good.
And I appreciate that.
So he said, no, I do not view these posters as racist. They are political statements. There is no university investigation underway, and the university will not take any action against the students who displayed the posters. See how quickly this changed? He had already committed to do that, and they wanted that. They wanted severe punishment, and they were going to get it. You know what? They were going to get it, and they do all the time. This is how they silence any kind of voice against the CCP. This is a rare case where it's been caught out. A very rare case,
I want to say something too.
Yeah.
You can bet your bottom dollar, if we went to go, because we've been asked to do this by multiple students at least, to go make a speech at a university, you can imagine the outrage. And they would, honestly, I'm going to go out there on a limb and say we probably wouldn't be allowed to do it.
We should try. Let's try. Anyway, so he continues. I want to be very clear. I support freedom of speech, even when it offends people. And creative art is a valued way to communicate on important societal issues. I also support the many students and faculty at our university who are engaged in researching and actively advocating against all forms of discrimination, marginalization, and oppression. Our university's scholarship, research, and support for those among us who need it most are the reasons that this great institution has fulfilled its mission for more than 200 years. As we embark on our third century, I'm committed to upholding our mission and ensuring our community has the support to continue this critical work. Yours sincerely, Mark S., currently Wrighton, not Wrongton.
Yes.
So
Mark S. Wrighton.
But
Good job.
then after this retraction was made, that's when the Global Times came out with this like, oh yeah, well look, freedom of speech is the last refuge of racist hater.
It's so, and there's no details about this.
No, by the way, they couldn't show the posters in this article
because Chinese state media is not allowed. Just like Eileen's statement isn't allowed to be in China.
Yeah.
That you can't show the Badiu Cao posters in Chinese media because they're against the CCP.
Exactly. So, the annoying, and the thing we have to take away from this, honestly, is the fact that the Chinese students, and just students in general, who had the courage to put those posters up, face a huge risk,
Yes.
a massive risk, and they almost paid dearly. You saw how the Chinese, let's just call it the Chinese government, basically put out a letter to say that this stuff is racist and it's terrible and they must be punished severely. And the head of the university went, okay.
In a foreign country.
Yes.
From a foreign country.
And they said, okay.
Okay.
we're
We,
going
on
to do
behalf
it.
of this foreign country that is actually not allied with us whatsoever.
And you know
or
what?
Any
Dude,
interests,
they
similar interests.
took the posters down
They did.
and they started their investigation.
Yeah.
They absolutely did that. And it was only after people were like, what the fuck, dude? This guy's Chinese, and this is not racist. This is talking about the government. Because I bet your bottom dollar you can get a Black Lives Matter poster up there,
Sure.
or something that insults Biden or Trump.
Right.
That's allowed to be put up there. You know, something that
course.
insults Israel or whatever. That might be tricky. But, you know, you put these things up in the university, and they're allowed. You're not immediately going to get like, oh, that's racist. Let's quickly go out and find who did this.
Right.
But yeah, no, if it's the CCP, it's like, oh wow, let's not you know, offend that money cash cow that we have of the Chinese international
Sure.
students.
Sure.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
And those people had such risk, and they are Chinese people too.
Yes.
People putting up the
Oh
posters.
yeah. That's
you know?
the biggest issue is
Yeah.
that the biggest supporters of this stuff and the Chinese people that are trying to express their freedom of speech
Yeah.
can't do anything and feel pressured and intimidated. I remember I met this guy at a restaurant. He was like, oh, we drove the same car, right?
Yeah.
And then we started speaking Chinese together. And he's like, holy shit, you can speak Chinese and all this kind of stuff. When we were talking about this, and he's like, I can't say what I want to say.
Yeah.
I can't make fun of Xi Jinping. I can't do anything because my family's still in China.
Yeah.
And I literally can't. And I came here thinking I could.
Yeah.
Right? But he faced this wall.
Yeah.
He faced this wall. And that was somewhere in upstate New York.
Yeah, dude.
You know?
It's terrible. They're everywhere. You know, the eyes of the CCP are everywhere.
And look, they
they're-
get people to capitulate. They get
They do.
organizations to say, oh, we're so sorry, Chinese government, not modern day Nazi Germany.
Yeah.
Oh, 不好意思, Hitler.
Yeah, sorry. So anyway, guys, this is a big lesson to everybody. If you are a university student, be very vigilant of these Chinese Students and Scholars Associations and things like the Confucius Institute, the Chinese Cultural Association, CCA.
Yeah.
That was the other one.
Yeah.
Be very wary of them because they work directly with the Chinese government and they are literally just there to censor people. They're not there to teach you Chinese and paper freaking doll art or whatever they do, you know, all the fancy nice things that are part of Chinese culture. You don't need these associations to teach you that. Okay.
No.
Those beautiful Chinese traditions, you can learn yourself or you can learn from Chinese people. You don't need some omnipresent on-campus government organization there to tell you what you can and can't say and what you can and can't put up on a wall.
I implore, honestly, any leadership, doesn't matter, Republican, Democrat, Independent, whatever, to not allow Chinese government organizations to operate on U.S. soil.
Correct.
It's incorrect. It's absolutely incorrect. It's outlandish. And when it's found out that they have influence like this, when the embassy is putting out messages like this to get influence in universities, you shut it down.
Yeah.
You shut it down immediately.
It should be that specific Students and Scholars Association needs to go.
You can have a Chinese club. Have one. I would join it. I
Yeah.
love Chinese stuff. I love the Chinese language, food, culture. Have that. It doesn't need to be sponsored by a country, does it?
No.
It could be third party. And as soon as you find out that there's government influence from a foreign state, you shut it the fuck down.
You know, it's been a pretty sad state of affairs because it's not like universities and so on didn't have Chinese classes and Chinese.
course.
For instance, you know, like in South Africa, when I went to go learn Chinese, it was a Taiwanese person teaching, teaching Mandarin.
That's
okay?
great.
You got a Taiwanese person there teaching you all about culture and everything. Guess what? Confucius Institute rolls around, now they get shut down. You know what? Because they can't have a Taiwanese person teaching Chinese culture.
No.
You know what I mean? And then it's like they have these ultimatums and
Yep.
they just completely destroy it. It's a horrible situation. All these Confucius Institutes and stuff need to go.
Correct.
Absolutely. have to go.
Absolutely. Any government, Chinese government influence, this is 2022. There's no more loopholes and stuff. We shut this down
Yeah.
now.
We got to do it.
And you vote for leadership that does that, whether it's local or whatever, and you bring that issue up, and you know what you do to make it really, to make the point stick, is you get Chinese support to back you up, because these Chinese people want their voice too.
Yeah, that's the problem, is it's Chinese students on campus are the ones that are actually suppressed the most.
Yes.
And yes, out of those Chinese students, a percentage of them are like wildly nationalist and they back this kind of censorship and they want that. And they are the ones helping enforce that. But that's just a percentage. It's
Yeah.
not all of them.
No, not even close.
Yeah.
They're
exactly.
the vocal ones, because
Yeah,
they're
the
allowed
vocal
to
ones.
be.
Because it's real easy to agree with a tyrant because he's not
Yeah.
going to stomp on you.
He'll support you.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, it's a very, very sad state of affairs.
Yes.
Anyway, so we thought we'd bring that up, and that's the last thing we have in Worldview. So it's time for us to hit our Yamcha section, which, of course, you guys all know what Yamcha's about by now. Yamcha is where we just have a chat. We answer your super chats. We just chill out. We relax, have a good time. It's kind of my favorite part of the show. And we leave it up for the weekend. And on Monday, we cut it out of the show, but you can still watch it on Patreon. But it's not behind a paywall. If you're watching us now, you can watch it. If you watch it over the weekend, you can watch it. And, if you don't catch it, you can always catch it on our Patreon later.